Hey everybody, it's Jeff Widgren. Welcome to the Zoom Test Kitchen. It's Friday afternoon, 3 p.m. Eastern, and I'm hearing myself somewhere, trying to figure out where. There we go. Facebook feed. Streaming on YouTube, Zoom Test Kitchen channel, and the Facebook group and page as well. Welcome back, everybody. We've got, not that everybody's a repeat, we've got some known names and my first arriver, probably 45 minutes ago, actually, Kenneth Pino. I like to say hi to Kenneth and try to remind myself who Kenneth Pino is and so forth. So if you get a chance to come on camera and say hi, that'd be great as well. But we've got Ray Franklin, David, Joe, Ward, George, Kenneth, Craig, Tony Mobley, Ward Cameron. There's two Ward Camerons, and Craig as well. So, and Josh just jumped in. So, welcome everybody. Good to be here. I look forward to Friday afternoons when I can be in the kitchen instead of on a job, but I'll always take the work over the kitchen and look for a host and a substitute. So we like making money here too, right? But anyways, good times. I not knowing, I mean, some of this is kind of on everybody's calendars. Some of this you might see the events that I put out there, on Fridays, and I don't know if you read them, but today's in particular was kind of tips and tricks. Part of it will be aligned with some new feature releases. A couple that I've got have to do with I worked every day this week for two different groups at Johnson and Johnson, and some things that I ran into and and wanted to share as well. And so hopefully some of you came with some tips and tricks and so forth as well. That and sometimes they feel so simple, but it's sometimes so simple that you don't want to share. But I'd say don't do that. I've done it, and I just think it even the small stuff matters to people as well, and I know it does to me. Some of those simple little tricks can be real lifesavers as well. So, Ray, you came in as Frank. Now you're Ray.
I'm gonna
I saw
I'm
it.
gonna figure out how to change it somehow.
That's cool. Either one will do for me. But
I get the impression
anyways,
now that you're Ray, you're not being frank with us.
yeah, yeah,
Serious.
yeah. There you go.
Yeah. Don't call me Hazel.
Very good. Our vMix scripting king, Joe, is on with us. He digs deep. Joe, been doing some pretty great things, so pretty impressive, and we should focus on some of that. I mean, I have used some of your solutions, right, and I've tested like the vMix call solution that you had put together several weeks back. Um, But my interest always, and I come, early in my IT career, I was a coder. That's what I did. Was I programmed, and so it's I dabble in it now, and I don't have really any big struggles with it because of my history. But I'm always interested in, hey Joe, what's your resources? Of who you're learning from, right? Because I mean, one of the some of the code I have written for vMix has, you know, come from sites out there, Facebook groups, and so forth. John Mahoney, John Mahoney's work, and he shares some great stuff. Some stuff that's just beyond my need, but start reading through it and so forth. So, anyways, Versions, Zoom versions. How many of you are on 5.8.3 or newer? I am. I'll give you a moment to see. All right. Very good. And the reason I asked about that, like Windows right now actually updated the other day again to 5.8.7. Mac is sticking to 5.8.6 right now, and 5.8.3, that threshold is one. That's the minimum threshold for the new presentation controls that you can offer others in the meeting as well. So 5.8.3 or newer, you should be able to hand over presentation control versus full remote control, which is all Zoom had there for quite a while. And was it Ward that you got it working last week? Was that you, Ward? And then you posted that you were challenged trying to get it to work again, right?
Yeah. It was me, and all of a sudden it doesn't work. The first half works, the sharing slide control, but the receiving it hasn't been working, which is why I've got sort of two instances today.
Yeah. I have a deck that is up as well, kind of prepared to circle back. I think some significant new releases, like, to review them just once in the Zoom test kitchen, I don't think it's very fair because not everybody can be here every Friday, and so, and we struggled for a lot longer last week getting it to work until Ward, we were about ready to hang it up. Ward said, "Hey, I got it working," and so then we figured out that I had forgot to enable it on the back end before I started the kitchen last week. So that is an essential part. It is an option that has to be enabled on your account first before you start the meeting. And but there again, Ward was our savior last week, and then this week he tried to do it again, and it's a challenge. So I'd like to kind of go spend some time with that. I haven't tested it on this machine yet either. I do know that I have the slide control option. I tested that, but I didn't test it on the receiving side. So there's the presentation. I want to, what I've got in my bucket of things to share is the presentation slide control, the spotlight self, which is like, what does that mean? In the participants list, if you've got, one or two, I ran into it. I don't remember visually why I got myself to a visual position where it's like, I know I'm going to have to go from like this panel to me, and it wasn't me, my face, it was me, my vMix output, and the easiest visual way I was heading towards accomplishing that for that switch that was coming up was to go to the participants list, hover over my name, click on more, like you can with everybody, and that's where I don't normally spotlight people from there, but that's where I was going to spotlight me. Only to find out I couldn't. I was the only one on the list that the host, was the only one on the list that could not spotlight myself. And I'm just like, wow, this is bizarre. So,
you know what, Jeff? You know what I really want? In the participant list, you've got mute and then more. I want to be able to break out that more into more buttons, right?
Yeah.
I want next to mute, I want it to say spotlight or spotlight plus. That means add a spotlight or take away. So it's one click instead of more spotlight.
Yep. Well, and that's, I totally agree in the sense. Now, I'll say the participants list still remains a very unideal place for me to manage a meeting because it changes all the time, I mean, if you look at it while everything's kind of sitting still, you'll see that you are listed on the top of your list, right? I'm listed on the top of my list. Next to that on your list is me, the host, and then then co-hosts by order of arrival and assignment, um, and then everybody else. And it didn't even used to be alphabetical. At least now it's alphabetical. And but there's it's like read between the lines. What can exist between, let's say, Ray, who's the last co-host, and Chris Clark, who's the first participant? Anybody? I am asking you guys. So let me know what else can show up between that slot between the last co-host and the first participant. Yeah, Josh.
People that have their mics open, it'll do the open mics
Yep.
and cameras first, and then it'll alphabetize the rest of the um, lurkers.
Yeah, and I would have said, although George got me better aligned, I did not realize that hands up went under the host and above the co-host. I did not remember that. I knew it was up top, but I thought it was going to be under the co-host. But it's actually
But
between
if
the
you're a
host and co-host.
co-host, but if you're a co-host and you're at the top, it's underneath you and underneath the host. The whole thing is very convoluted.
It's really wild, and so I mean it just makes it really difficult to manage switching and muting and all those things because it's always shifting. George, what you got?
No keyboard shortcuts to it. That's what drives me crazy.
No, I mean yeah, and the best you can do is if I show my my second monitor, which is where Zoom is if you, whether this is a floating window, because it can be, right? It can be a floating. If you go full screen, all these become floating windows, which can be handy, especially if you have multiple monitors and so forth. But you can manage it by constantly searching, right? And so we know that Kenneth Pino has to be spotlit. Get rid of the shuffle by typing in part of his name, and they did do good with this search in the sense that it's a fuzzy search, and so it's there's the letter R, there's RA, and that doesn't have to be at the beginning of their name, as you can see with Craig, it's within his name as well. So finding participants is, if you have to use the participants list, I would highly recommend, especially if you're in a large meeting, and this happened several times this week to us, in a large meeting, and this client in particular is a fly by the seat of your pants client. I mean, you can try to pull everything out, ahead of time and build, an accurate run of show and the whole bit. And we still found ourselves, we received a slide deck 20 minutes before that person was supposed to be on the air. And we never noted that they were going to have slides at all. We weren't expecting slides, let alone that late in the game. So, but he happened to be one of the top dogs at the organization. And so you can't very well kind of shoot that down. But, so you have to, accommodate accordingly. But I will say, especially those those meetings or events that, have a lot of moving parts, and if it's a repeat customer, you either know they're very organized and have everything up front, or they're a fly by the seat of your pants. We had three. We had actually two producers and two technical moderators, and in those meetings all week. And so today's meeting actually felt a little overkill because it was the simpler one of all 4 days ahead of it. But needless to say, it really comes in handy because you can delegate those pieces and parts. One did polls and the other did spotlighting and audio, and I did the video and title and closing slides and a couple other things, and it's just it really helps lessen stress and the workload and the accuracy and mistakes, right? Get better as well. So, anyways, I had a list. Where did it go? I also that all got started with Spotlight Self. So you can, gosh, while I was there, oh, so sorry. So I get so sidetracked so easy because I talk too doggone much. So sharing my screen with you there, am I spot that right now? There, now I am. Oh, that's not going to work so well. Anyways, I will undo that and hope that just active speaker does the job instead. But anyways, the ability to now click on more on my own name as the host and actually have an option to spotlight for everyone. I mean, that looks perfectly normal, but it did not used to exist just a couple weeks ago. So that's a nice finally add. The other thing I found that that individual who gave us a slide deck while we were on the air, right? We were in program, the event was rolling and the whole bit. We received the slide deck, and that poses its own challenges, right? Well, the main thing was I was the one sharing the master deck, and so how was I supposed to, add that to it, because there was not going to be a non-shared break moment for me to to switch over. And so, things to consider, and you guys can add to it in thoughts. I'd love to, get your thoughts as well.
How did you get the deck? What was the process that got you the deck?
So the producers received it, and then they put it in the shared folder that we all have access to before and during the show. And so I downloaded it, and there's PowerPoint. They did all use, I don't know that he did, but they all used the same template with it. I think his was actually different. But so I knew I didn't have time. It wasn't just time. I mean, I had no moment while we were live to add it to the master deck, and because I'll take multiple decks and add them to the master, add sections, with the person's name or the topic, put all their slides in there, tell it not to recognize the master files, master slides, but use their own template and the whole bit, so it keeps its formatting all the same. That wasn't going to be an option, so I had to open up two decks and have them both in presentation mode and be able to seamlessly switch from presentation 1 shared to presentation 2 shared. Ideally, it's my own pressure. I think if they had their a monitor of some sort, they had it on their own computers. They may have, but they didn't. They didn't want to opt into remote control, and which now would be presentation control. I have internetclicker.com. They just didn't want to do it, and they'd rather shout it out. Next slide. It's like, are you kidding me? Now, speaking to Ray and everybody else as well, but Ray being the presentation coach that he is professionally, there was a professional guest speaker who came on about she was a speaker slash coach in the topic around diversity and the value of it and so forth. It was the most non-offensive, absorbable conversation I've ever I didn't participate, but I got to hear it. I wrote her on LinkedIn, and I don't hardly ever communicate with a customer outside of having to do the job. But I really had huge compliments, because not only did she really open my mind, but she had some very actionable items that you could do, and and I don't think there was anybody there who could have been offended, but yet fully understood, the benefit of managing and leading, diverse teams and so forth. So, but my point was, she, out of all the other speakers, she never ever said next slide, and I was moving her slides. And so it absolutely can be done. She knew what the key word was on the next slide, and she would just lift her voice to it just enough for me to know it's time to move. It was super, and we did not practice that. We never talked about it. She just did it, and I tuned right in, and it was probably the best experience of me driving a slide to a speaker who really, really, really knew what she was doing.
I
It
bet
was
she
really
appreciated it.
impressive. Oh, it was great. I mean, she probably would have been comfortable, with a remote, but she didn't make rehearsals, and so it didn't become an option for her. But yeah, it was super cool to notice that difference between a real professional speaker as well. So this is what I did. They were PowerPoint decks. So I have one laptop with one external monitor connected to it. And I'll open the deck, I'll go to the slideshow settings, tell it what monitor to present on, and my PowerPoint program is on that monitor, as well as when it goes into presentation mode, it lays itself on top of it as well. So I did that twice. I opened up two files on top of each other, and then I put the first one in presentation mode, hitting F5 function key, alt-tabbed over to the other one, hit F5. Now there's two programs of PowerPoint and there's two presentations of PowerPoint. Then I shared, let me go back to my screen again. Then I brought up the share dialog and I selected, this is not a great example because they're not PowerPoints, one is, but I shared that PowerPoint and I shared that PowerPoint, and by control clicking I can share both at the same time, and so they're ready to share. Now if they're not showing on your computer, no one's going to see them, right? And so at that point I can share. This is vMix and a PowerPoint. So I've got two things shared. I'm going to click on share. Now you see the share. And if you're seeing the vMix share, I'm going to Alt-Tab to the PowerPoint. You don't see that happening, but the PowerPoint, let me see if I got the right one. I'm selecting it, but it's not showing. You're just still seeing the vMix, right? If I missed something there. Maybe I should do two decks.
It's not going to happen this way during the show, is it?
What? No. No, it went surprisingly really good. Here, okay, so I've got two decks open now over on this monitor. I have one is, they're both the same template, spotlight, but one is team intros and one is protocol overview. And so I'm going to put protocol interview into presentation mode. I'm going to Alt-Tab to team intros, and now I'm going to put that in presentation mode. Now I'm going to put myself back on camera so that doesn't create confusion. Now I'm going to share so you can see, so you can see that. I'm going to share the two that are in presenter. So here's the one PowerPoint, right? The program itself, if you will, the application, but these are the actual presenter views. They're already loaded, full screen, the whole bit.
I don't think we're seeing what you think we're
You're
seeing.
not sharing screen, Jeff.
Oh, I'm sorry. Here we go. Put it back on my camera. That help? If I'm spotlit, let me spotlight. I don't know if that'll work or not. Yeah, that worked. Okay. So So you'd see both PowerPoints, but you can also see both are in presenter mode as well. So I'm not sharing the PowerPoints, but I'm sharing the presentation mode of each PowerPoint. So I'm sharing. Now you see team intros shared. I'm going to Alt Tab to Protocol Overview, and you see that it switched right to Protocol Interview. And I'll go back to um, team intros, and I'll switch right back. So the audience has no indication at all that this is actually two decks, two PowerPoints, and so forth by leveraging. But there's a touch of setup there, right? Is having to be able to, load those, put them in presenter mode, be comfortable with Command or Alt Tab, and then Control click multiple items to share as well. So I thought I'd share that with you. It's a little bit of a stress moment because one of my other options I considered is like, hey, we have more than one tech in this meeting. You take that deck and you share that one, and I'll share this one. I just thought it was important to share that that you don't have to be and function within those limitations. So, any other thoughts or practices, guys, that you do or ways you might have approached that? I see Josh has a digital hand up.
Yeah, if I may, I just wanted to call attention. I'm showing Jeff my speaker view. It's showing you back, and I had this weird thing where Zoom's speaker view wouldn't scale correctly. Right now, it's showing like a big wide margin around
I
you.
see that.
The other day, I had it to where it had it open, it just cropped off a good portion of the screen. When you look at it in the gallery view, I saw a full view of the person that was speaking, but I looked in the second window in the speaker view. I don't know if anyone else has had that option. I don't have the very latest version, and it did say that it fixed some bug options. I'm on version. It's the penultimate version right now. Yeah. I'm on 8.6. So 8.7 does says that minor bug fixes. Perhaps that'll fix my problem. Now I'm flickering a little bit, but didn't know if anyone else ran into that issue.
I have not within Zoom. I haven't dealt with weird cropping inside of Zoom itself. There was out of the several bug fixes listed. I did pull one out that really stood out to me. Resolved an issue for a subset of users. Subset? I'm not sure about that. Regarding a drop in video quality when spotlighting more than one participant. And I'm like, that to me, I don't know if what they fixed what we've dealt with like forever, which is like if you have a 2 up or a 4 up, only the active speaker is high res and everybody else is lower res while they're not speaking. I'd like to test that today and see if that's in fact is what they attended to in this noted fix. All right. Are you telling me my audio's on the wrong level, or are you just putting those up?
Oh no, that was behind my screen
Oh,
share.
okay.
You sound good.
Okay.
Sound
good.
great, Jeff.
Thank you, sir. I finally had to replace my head boom. I bought a couple more the other day. I think they're like 15 or 20 bucks each at B&H, the Polsons, because the outer skin of the wire just part of it crinched together, part of it stretched apart, just the fragility of them, I guess. It didn't stop working. It just looked like it was going to. So I thought I better get a jump on this. I also noted in today's focus, and I'll admit I've barely played with these, just a couple of different questions, but the advanced polling questions. And you can upload an image to polling questions. You can have stack ranked type questions. You can have short answer, long answer questions. It's pretty doggone cool, the number of options, and I think it would be worth spending some time there to understand really what all those options, are represent. And, in my world, it's, during that pre-sale, right, all the pre-pro work of gathering the requirements and, knowing the limitations, but also being able to offer up what's new to the customer as well, works great. Automatic updates. Is everybody familiar already? That one kind of got in our face because we upgraded, and it was part of the upgrade that it jumped up and said, auto updates is on, and do you want to do it fast or do you want to do it slow? And so with that, many of us are probably running on auto updates at this point, but I think I chose fast because I always want the latest release versus slow. And I forgot to write an email last week on what slow actually represents, like kind of how many versions or some scale, some grading scale that they consider most stable versus latest release. But we'll get that clarified. And then another note, I don't think it's a test as much as a note of HD video now being supported on supported mobile devices. However that shakes out, right? If you're newer iPads maybe, or newer Galaxies, not sure what qualifies them exactly, but HD can be sent from those devices now as well. Anything else that's caught anybody's attention as far as releases and so forth? Lois?
I was wondering if you could define a term you used. You said you had a stacked poll. What is a stacked poll?
When we get into the advanced polls, I don't exactly know. I think it has a left column, right column. I think they call it a stack poll. It's like a puzzle. You have to drag and drop this one to there and this one to there and so forth. Let me see if I used the right term even. Let's go edit these real quick. And if I go create, so there's, it's rank order actually. So there's single choice, multiple choice, matching, and rank order is the one I was referring to mentally, but I called it the wrong thing. So we'll play with those and get more familiar. All right, nothing else. You're such a quiet group today. I'm gonna stop and just wait for somebody to chime in. Oh my goodness, I went to gallery view and Ed Woollick is here. I haven't seen Ed in ages. Welcome, buddy. Are you moved? Still says New York. You're muted.
Yep, I am. I'm still New York for the time being, just for about another 10 days or so.
That kind of stinks.
And then what?
Then I'll be out in Michigan,
Whereabouts?
the Grand Rapids area.
Very
Where
cool.
are you? You're out in California.
Yeah, she's in
I grew up in the Upper Peninsula.
Ah, so you're used to real cold.
Yeah, I used to in the area that I would cover when I was a IT manager. Part of my territory was Minnesota, Minneapolis, and I dreaded traveling there in the wintertime. It was so. I mean, I'm in Kansas City. I mean, we get cold, but we don't get that cold. And there was one time they didn't have room enough to put the snow somewhere, because it had snowed so much, and so they were literally, dumping it, not just to the side of the highway, but completely off the highway somewhere else. It's like, wow, this is crazy. But
So you so
Ward, you're breaking up.
in
Your audio's breaking up really bad. I'm not sure if it's your bandwidth
David,
or Bluetooth or something.
David's hand is up.
Yes, it is. David, go ahead.
Well, yeah, I just wanted to. We're talking about tips and tricks and specifically around screen sharing. Can I throw one in, add one to the mix?
You betcha.
Sure. So I am not a fan at all of screen sharing in general, but if I do have to screen share, what I've done is over on Stream Deck, you can actually set in Zoom, set it to automatically share your primary display. And so what I've done is I've made my primary display, whatever I'm going to be screen sharing, I have it automatically open on that primary display. And then I created a button on my Stream Deck to just screen share. So, excuse me, when I press that, I don't have to choose what I'm going to share. I don't have to make any adjustments at all. It just automatically screen shares. So it's one button press as opposed to going through. Now, having said that, if I do want to share something different, then it's going to automatically share that, and then I'm going to have to go in and do a new share. But I can't, the number of button clicks that you have to do to get something done in Zoom drives me bonkers. And so being able to screen share in this way made life a lot easier.
Yeah, as long as it's on that monitor and you put it there, and then it just shows it and so forth. It just and when you're aware and practiced, it's a non-issue. It's those who don't realize, hey, you're sharing, you just minimized your PowerPoint. Now we're looking at your Outlook email, and that's where I often fall to. If I have to share, I'll never share a screen. I'll only share the application so that I don't expose a whole lot more that's on my desktop and so forth as well. But totally understand why that's a valuable place. Kind of like having an overhead projector. If you put it on the projector, it's gonna show, right? So, thank you, David.
And
Lois, what you got?
there's a setting in Zoom where you can do exactly the same thing David is doing, but inside Zoom. You could just go to the keystroke area, and you can change one of your buttons to be start your share, stop your share. And I believe that works the same way as what David is doing.
Yeah, why don't we have a few? We'll take a look at that. It's under the settings, keyboard shortcuts, and see in that list. Yeah, there's a start. Alt S is a stop screen sharing, and so if I did an Alt S, it only pops up the dialog. It doesn't default to a particular screen, like all the way through without the pause, and so it brings up that initial
Perhaps
dialog.
if you're only using, does that matter whether you only have one screen? Maybe.
No, it's a valid point because right now I have multiple. So if I do
I wouldn't know either, but just throwing it out
it's not the same shortcut on a Mac because I do have a Mac here that has a single screen. It's a Shift Command S. So if I do a Shift Command S, it pops up just the screen dialog of select what you want to share there. So if somebody can dig a little further and see if you can get it to actually default to the screen, that would be cool news.
And David, where did you get the shortcut button? Was that in the Zoom app on the Stream Deck?
I have no idea. I don't actually remember if it's just if you just do a hotkey, or let me see. Let me jump in here. So I have two. Okay, so the way I did it is I actually have two. Oh, sorry, wrong one. I actually have two actions here. So I did a multi-action. So the first is to open Zoom, because if you don't put that in first, if you don't make Zoom the active app, then it won't work. And then I did the share toggle from within Zoom.
Gotcha. Share toggle.
That's a Zoom
But-
library for the Stream Deck, though. I mean, that's it's
Correct.
taking care of the magic for you. Yeah.
Right. There's share. Yeah, share toggle. There's mute toggle, video toggle, and share toggle. Those are the first three in Zoom over here in the Zoom.
Thank you, sir.
Very cool. All right. Okay, so let me go back here. The presentation slide control. Let's drill back down on this. Go to gallery here. I will I'll open up a deck here, and then I'll let others try this as well. As long as you're on 5.8.3 or newer, you should be able to share and get these results, and also 5.8.3 to be able to see the controls and use them. So let me pull up a deck. Okay, that is up. I will share. I'm going to share I only have one PowerPoint up open now, so I'm going to share that one PowerPoint. I can see slide control on my toolbar now, the toolbar that usually moves to the top when you're sharing, right? And a button shows up called slide control, and if I click on that button, I have a list of, I believe it's probably filtered down to everybody who's capable in the meeting. I don't think it's a full list, but it's a drop-down list, and it even has a search by name on the top of that, so that if you're in a really large meeting, you can do a quick search and find who. And you can select multiple people as well. So I just check marked. Oops, that's not the screen. That's the screen. That's the screen I'm working with right now. So if you look at, I'm sharing, but my video window, if you happen to have side by side, if you'll make my video window a little larger, you'll see that from this toolbar you get the slide control option, and then if you click on that, I don't show the toolbars all the time right now, so it's turning off as well. But it shows a list of, who do you want to give presentation control to? And so right now I've only selected Ward. And so I would ask Ward, do you have an indication now that you can have presentation control? Have you had any message, any toolbar, anything show up?
Nothing at all.
Okay. Now, if you look at my share is a PowerPoint share, but it's not yet in presentation mode. And it even says on the top of this, participants only see slide controls when you're in presentation mode. And so that's the next step here is if I hit F5 here and go into presentation mode, then the question is, Ward, do you now see? And the question is if you can maybe verbally describe what is it that you just saw? What is it that you now can do? And how does it display?
Yes, on the bottom left, I've suddenly got a message saying Control Jeff Widgren slides and a left and right arrow.
And that's it. It's not full control. It's not full remote control. As a matter of fact, I'm going to click on my vMix app so that I'm intentionally not focused on the PowerPoint. But Ward, go ahead and click and try to advance slides now. And so it doesn't matter. Remote control was a nightmare because you couldn't do, if you granted somebody Zoom's remote control, it would be a battle of the mouse pointer, and you couldn't do what you needed to do because they had remote control to drive the slides and so forth. This now takes that battle away and just gives Ward a left and a right arrow
Can you can
to
you can you
advance.
can you advance through the slides without clicking? Is there a keyboard? You know, the
Yeah,
left
so
right arrows.
it's a great question, and I think we saw this last
My
week.
my
So
space key will work as a
the
shortcut.
space and the left and the right arrow as well will.
The other thing we didn't realize last week was you both have control over forward and back on the slides.
Yeah. Yeah, now I have to have focus. I like if I click over on vMix, I can no longer left right arrow, but if I click once on the slide and it doesn't mess it up, it doesn't move it, doesn't do anything, now that gives me focus to where I can use my left right arrow and you can as well. So Ward, if you if you click on another application than Zoom to lose focus, does your left right arrow work? And I don't think it will because you've lost focus on that.
No, it doesn't.
And so it's like if a presenter said, hey, it's not moving, that would be because they're using their keyboard and they lost focus of the application. So they have to click on the right arrow at least once and then leave it alone, and then they can use their keyboard again to advance their slides.
A
Yes,
question.
Lois?
When you're doing that, in Zoom, there is a way that you can assign keystrokes and you can say, make this a universal thing. So no matter where I am on the computer, it's going to do that thing.
Yeah.
Might that be something that would work in this situation?
I don't, I can't say that I looked. If somebody wanted to dig in and see if they happen to add any shortcuts dealing with presenter controls, that's what it would take, is they would have had to add some shortcut options for presenter controls. Other
Yeah,
than that,
I just looked
don't.
for it and didn't find it.
Okay. So that would be, seems like a no for the time. But the thing that I wasn't initially thrilled with, which I really like about internetclicker.com, is it's a big green, big red button for forward and back, and it's big whether it's on your mobile phone, it's even bigger if it's on a tablet, and it's even bigger if it's on a computer screen. It's always really big and easy to, hit that next slide button. These arrows are not big, and they're not tiny, but they're not really big either. And so I think that, that coaching of advance the slide once to, by clicking on the right arrow once, but then stay on your keyboard because it's so much better on the touch and it's friendlier, it's bigger, easier button that we're all used to typing, and even bigger than that is the space bar will be a forward only option once, as long as they have focus on the app as well. All right, so right now just Ward has control, so I'm going to drop this list down while he has control. I'm going to add Josh, I'm going to add Dan, I'm going to add David, I'm going to add Lois. So now we'll probably all see these slides go crazy
Oh boy.
because everybody that I selected now has presenter control of these slides, which is, if it's coordinated and you let the speakers know, hey, you're back to back, make sure you don't use those controls because you're going to be moving your peers, slides on them. But you don't have to do anything when it's your turn other than click on advance. That works. But at the same time, taking a look at this visually, although I have it shared in the kitchen, no one would see me move this selection to the next speaker, right? So I could easily just say, hey, unclick, I'll just unclick everybody for the moment and say, okay, now it's Joe's the next speaker. So I unclick David, say, and click Joe. Nobody knows any different, right? And so you can either manage it or you can get it preset with those who the speakers are and then set the ground rules. But it's kind of like saying, hey, I'm going to make everybody a co-host so you can whatever. and then what you've done is you've put yourself on a platform of risk, of something going wrong or slides moving unexpectedly, and no one's going to admit to it, But needless to say, that's the experience. So I'm going to stop slide control and let somebody else. I know Ward probably has the biggest amount of interest because I know he had some challenges of getting. Did you end up getting it working, Ward?
No, but I haven't had a lot of time to test since.
Okay.
I'm waiting for a new system to arrive that has more system resources so I don't lose audio.
Now but you did have controls from me today, right? So, and I think it's always important to point out, I'm on a PC, and I was sharing from a PC. I was sharing PowerPoint, although this could, and if anybody's prepared to help do that, it also supports Keynote and Google Slides. And I haven't tested that at all yet. So if somebody has a deck on either or both of those platforms, that would be a great test as well. But Ward, why don't we turn it around? If you have a deck that you want to share, then let's do that. Now, which Ward do I need to elevate here? So
For the sharing, go with Ward Hotmail.
I don't see email addresses. I only see 2 Ward Cameron spelled identical. So
The one that doesn't have a camera on.
okay. All right. So I'll make you co-host for a moment so you can share.
It is interesting to me that there's no indication to any of the co-hosts or anybody else in the participants list of anybody that has slide control. I thought maybe that might pop up there, but it does not.
Mm. Yeah, not to anybody else other than, and this feature, I don't have to make Ward a co-host to be able to leverage this feature. As a matter of fact, I only just made him co-host so that he could share, because I don't like turning on sharing. Now, where did your name? Oh, there it is. And
Now, Jeff, I have shared the deck with you.
Yeah, you've shared the deck with everybody. I've removed co-host from you, so now you're just a regular attendee sharing, and so why don't you walk us through the rest as far as who you see on your list? Do you see the slide control button and so forth?
far I've shared slide control with you, Jeff.
Well, yeah, but you're not in presentation mode yet, though, right? So because I don't see anything different.
Yeah, I am.
I'm not. I'm seeing
I-
PowerPoint. I'm not seeing the full screen presentation mode.
But if you move, won't it move? You're moving it.
I'm not moving it. That's Ward. I mean, I see the title bar to PowerPoint, and I see the bottom toolbar to PowerPoint, which tells me it's not in presentation mode. I would say press the F5 function key and see if that'll pop it into presentation mode.
Or you're just not sharing the right window.
If you're talking, Ward, we can't hear you either.
Just give me a second. I'm just reloading it.
Jeff, where do you find that presentation mode again? How do you start it?
Well, in PowerPoint, I have burned into my mind and muscle memory. F5 puts it on the first slide in full screen presentation mode. Shift F5 puts it in presentation mode on the current slide that you're displaying inside PowerPoint. Sometimes you have to go to a second section, and you don't want, if you hit F5, it's going to go to the beginning, but Shift F5 will launch it right on the slide you're looking at.
So presentation mode is not something in Zoom, it's something in your slide.
It's PowerPoint. Yeah. you can be in PowerPoint and build a presentation. That's kind of the tool bench, if you will. But when you want to actually go present it to people, so it's full screen, nothing but nice, clean, full screen slides. That's presenter mode or presentation mode.
Okay, so I've got the slideshow running. So it's running in PowerPoint.
So why are we? So
And I
that
have the
bottom
option
right,
for slide control.
that very bottom right corner icon. Do you see that?
Yeah.
I see it now. That's unchecked. Now that so now
I
it's
think we're just,
selected.
I think we're just seeing the
But we're
wrong
I think
window.
it's displaying on another monitor that you have because it's not the presenter mode is not displaying to us.
I've only got one monitor. It's a laptop.
I
But
would
Jeff, when
I
you
would stop presentation mode for a moment and bring up your PowerPoint toolbar
Jeff,
and
when
go
you
to go to setup slideshow on that top icon, setup slideshow,
Okay.
and then what do you? Let me pull that up as well so I know what I'm asking.
Okay, I've got.
Jeff, when you shared, I didn't see anything different on my screen. The only difference was if I pressed the arrow key, something happened.
Well, I mean, you should have been seeing my share, my slides that you were advancing.
But you were
I
seeing
saw the
my slides.
I was seeing his slides too.
Yeah, but I was also seeing the PowerPoint title bar and the toolbar on the bottom, and
But
that's
that's
the app.
because you owned it.
No, no, you didn't see my title bar or toolbar on the top and the bottom when I was sharing my slides, did you?
I see it on my own computer when I'm sharing my slides.
Yeah, I think on under Setup Slideshow, you have on the top left corner it says Show Type, and the three options you have is Presented by a Speaker Full Screen. I'm thinking you have Browsed by an individual window.
I do. Okay.
Yeah, you want the
See
first
if that
option
helps.
selected.
So,
There we go.
okay,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
slide
that's full
control.
screen. Yeah, so slide control.
To you, Jeff.
Now I've got it. Control Ward camera and slides,
Okay.
and I can move them along. Perfect.
Sweet.
So I mean, I think that's a useful problem that we just got through, because if somebody, I may not like the look of a title bar and small toolbar on the top and bottom, but what's really just happened is Zoom does not consider that presentation mode. PowerPoint did. It says, hey, if you put me in presenter mode, what do you want it to look like? The only one Zoom is going to recognize to be able to pass those controls to somebody else is full screen, not windowed view. So I was completely unaware, but that's a good give.
No, that's a good catch. And that's a big caveat for this feature.
So go ahead and add a few others. Anybody who's on camera that didn't for sure didn't get a chance to see slide controls on your side, raise your hand if you will, so Ward can give you that experience as well. So George, Ed, Ray.
And Jeff, I'm on a Mac and have a keynote to share if we want to try that.
Okay, cool. So
Oh,
everybody.
thanks for that, Jeff. That's huge.
Yeah, no, that's great. I mean, I'm really glad that it worked on my end. I'll be able to offer it up. I didn't do it this week, although I had a lot of slide people doing their thing. But I'll start offering it up, and I think it'll be a lot more accepted from folks being that way. So that'll be great.
I wanted to check something here, so I'm putting up a little title slide thing.
Is this a deck?
This is a deck. Jeff, if you have control of that.
Yep, I do.
You can see it's switching. Okay. So I'm actually sharing, instead of sharing the PowerPoint application, I'm sharing my desktop that has PowerPoint full screen on it.
That's good. That's good to know, because we were, when we tested that last week, we were having too many other problems to be able to get, we were going for that clear distinction. Does it have to be the app or can it be the screen? So
Yeah.
you, now, so your full screen presentation, and you shared
Yep.
the
And you
monitor
should be-
or screen 1, screen 2, whatever
Exactly.
you shared, and it
Exactly.
still recognized it. That's quite cool.
Yep.
I don't know how in the world they're recognizing that, that it's PowerPoint when you're sharing a screen, but because your PowerPoint app can be on a different monitor, and the presentation of that PowerPoint can be on another monitor, and so I don't know how they've pulled that off, but it's
And I
impressive.
was using presenter mode, so I'm two screened, and I have presenter mode, so I was able to see my presenter mode on one screen, and you guys were controlling what was on the secondary screen.
Cool.
I didn't
So-
see anything change. Did something change?
Yeah, it
Uh,
was that GFX number on the top
Oh.
on the top of the circle. Yeah, it was pretty minor, but it was doing.
Yeah.
Lois, you want to do? You said you had Keynote. Don't tell anybody, but I turned on screen sharing, so
Yeah,
something I never do.
noticed by accident. Sorry. I didn't. I'm running on a Mac. I didn't get any ability to move PowerPoint, as far as I could tell. There was no indication that there was
Okay.
anything here.
What
don't
version
know what
of
happened.
the Zoom client are you running, George?
I am on the latest update, which is
Okay.
586.
Okay. Yeah, 586 on a Mac is. So it may have been that I called out your name, but maybe it didn't get check marked, would be my guess. So we'll make sure that you are offered the controls on this test here. So Lois, do you now
I'm
see
not sure
because you're
exactly.
sharing?
I,
So
are you not
on the
seeing it?
no, we're seeing your share. And
Okay.
so up on your toolbar now, while you're sharing, you should see a button up there that says slide control.
Well, I could try play. Okay, that's going to do the whole thing. I have to rearrange. I'm using share portion of screen. And
You're putting it to the test.
no,
We have no idea if share portion of the screen is going to recognize.
I'm not seeing anything where okay, I'm going to stop that for a minute. Okay, so I'm going to set up again and share it a different way. Go on and do the next one, and I'll be right back.
Okay. Does anybody have Google Slides deck?
I have Google Slides.
Okay, let's try that in the meantime. We'll come back to Lois when she says she's ready.
Okay, and I'm going to share the application and not the window, correct?
Oh, either way.
All right, I'll try sharing the application first just to see how that goes.
And so the application being a browser?
It's it's a Google Slides in the browser.
Okay, so I see a full screen slide.
And I'm going to give Jeff, I'm going to give you control.
Give George control too, since he hasn't been able to test this yet on the client side.
I don't actually see George in the list. I see David, Ray, Ward, Joe,
George
Dan,
Brothers.
Kenneth, and Cohen.
Interesting. Okay.
George,
So-
do you have the latest?
Yeah, he said he was on
version?
5.8.6.
Yeah, I'm on the latest, Josh.
Let me try David. I'll give you control.
I see George in the list.
As far as control list?
Never mind. I found the scroll button.
You know, he is
You
in
got it now,
uh,
George.
Canada.
I
He's
got
in Nova
you.
Scotia. It's way
It
up there.
popped up. It's cold. It's the cold. That's the problem.
That's funny. All
It
right,
did pop
so
up.
so you have the controls on the bottom left now too, George? I'm not going to click on anything. I have control too, but I'm not going to move anything if you want to test it out.
Well, now you don't.
There we go. Cool.
Okay. And I could try. I could try sharing the window and seeing how that works.
The screen
So,
itself, you mean?
yes, I'll stop sharing that and I'll try sharing the screen. Okay. And slide control. I'll give it to you, Jeff, first. Go ahead and have
Got
a
it.
crack at it.
Yep.
George. Now that I know how to scroll, George has got it.
So this is you're in presentation mode full screen, but you shared your monitor instead of the browser, which is what
Correct.
houses a Google slide deck. Cool.
And
So
just as a
could we just
note,
go
what's
back to your-
interesting? Oh, sorry.
Sorry, go ahead. Nope.
Something I'm seeing as co-host is I get a notification that pops up letting me know how many people have control, even though I do not have control.
So
Interesting.
popped up and went away, or popped up and it's still up?
No, it popped up and went away. It was a little bubble down by my microphone icon, and I could close it. Right now, it says 4 other people now have slide sharing control.
So add or
3 other
remove
people.
somebody, Josh, so I can see
Okay.
if I get that too.
Who wants it? Lois. Let's see. Lois. There you go. I added Lois. And that Ed just got a notification whenever the number changes.
Yep, whenever it goes up or
It's
down.
interesting as the host,
I didn't
as
get
either
one.
the host or somebody who has presentation control from you. I'm not getting those pop-ups.
Well, maybe
And-
Jeff, maybe take control away from Jeff and see if then he sees it.
Okay,
Yeah,
Jeff.
that'd be a good one.
Sorry, Jeff. You got control
Yep,
no longer.
No
I'm
more
gonna-
control.
Now add
gonna-
somebody different so that it
did
gives a
pop up and say
gonna add you, Ed,
ended
into
my
control.
control.
So now,
I'm a
Ed, you have
co-host.
control.
I'm a co-host without control, and I'm not seeing any pop-ups.
So
That's really interesting because that didn't add
Interesting.
any pop-ups. I could tell when I got added, and I could tell when I got removed. I mean, it was a pop-up message that said he removed it from me, but I don't see the ones Ed's talking about at all.
interesting.
Interesting. Yeah. So I when when he added me, excuse me, it said it gave me another pop up, and then I'm the one switching right now, having control. So I'm
So
flipping
if
through
I take
slides.
control away, you'll be able to see the number then, Ed?
Yep. Yep.
So I took
3 other
control
people.
away.
Yep.
All right,
Yeah, and I
what
see
is-
it too. It's a little transparent
little overlay,
notification
yeah.
with white text.
What
Yep,
does Ed
correct.
have that the rest of us don't? That doesn't seem
I
fair.
know
know
what? It might
that's
just
really
be-
bizarre.
It might just be that Ed's noticing it because it popped up on another screen at the bottom, and I almost missed it. So let me try this. I'm going to change.
So I have Jeff OSC is also a co-host. It's a Mac next to me. I haven't been watching it, so make a change.
I only
or
have
two.
one screen if you want to try that.
Okay. So Lois, you right now have control. I'm going to take control away.
Yeah, no pop.
But I'm not a co-host,
Mac.
so I
So
can't
one
see
other
it.
participant's now having slide control. So then I'm going to give Tony control. Two
And what's
other
interesting-
participants.
So what's interesting is I moved my Zoom window to see because it was overlaying right next to my microphone icon. So I moved my Zoom window, and the overlay stayed in the same place. So for me on a Windows machine, it's popping up at the lower left of my screen, just above the Windows Start button.
That's I'm finding that too. It's on my main monitor, lower
Are
Can you
left
you
try it
full
one more time
screen,
for me?
full screen zoom or windowed zoom?
It's a little transparent. I could actually here. I'll take a little screenshot of it. Whoops.
Jeff,
you
would you
add-
make me co-host and I'll check it on my Mac?
I'm noticing it coming up on the system that is a laptop with a single screen, but not on my dual screen system.
All right, now I'm a co-host. He just gave me permission to switch, but I did not get a pop-up anywhere,
Oh,
and
I'm
I'm
gonna take
feeling
it away from you,
incredibly
David.
left out.
So I'm gonna take it away now. Notice any
3 other
change?
participants now have slide sharing, and I don't have control anymore. I'm one of the people he took away.
That's bizarre.
That is wild.
Yeah, only on my single screen system. My laptop, it pops up. My dual screen desktop, it does not pop up.
This
My
has
single,
gotta,
s- my
this
single
has gotta
screen
be in
Mac, I
the
don't see it.
settings. This has gotta be in the settings. Something in the settings about how we often squish pop-up notices and so forth. I'm wondering if that's what we're dealing with. Is Ed has something checked or unchecked that we don't.
I wonder, you know what I'm thinking? I just realized I keep my computers on, what's it called? What the heck, what's it called when you don't get pop-ups? Do not disturb.
Yeah.
And I just
Yeah.
got this giant black screen that came on top of things, or is that what you're sharing?
I just got it. Okay.
Is that what you're?
Oh, no,
someone's
no, no,
sharing
I
that?
didn't just get it. He's screen
Yeah.
sharing that.
Okay.
I'm sharing the notification. So
I
now
thought
you
I
all
just
got
got
it.
that, but it was your screen share.
You can
Right,
complain
now
no
we all
longer.
got it. Do me a favor. Can you do one more person? Can you share or unshare one more person? Because I just turned do not disturb off.
Sure. So I will.
Give it to me. I haven't had a chance to
A little birdie told me to give it to Ray Franklin. So there's Ray Franklin.
Nada.
Tweet. No.
Not a thing. Wow.
Interesting. Yeah, as far as the notification settings in
Can
Zoom.
Ray change things?
So like under share screen settings, there's, I unchecked silence system notifications when sharing desktop. That didn't make a difference. Share individual, share that. There's, you'd think it's gotta have something to do with notifications, but I'm trying to find more.
Yeah, I even looked in the general settings just for notifications in general.
Like chat settings, there's some stuff there. Show notification banner. This is under chat though. Show
And
message preview.
What version are we running? I'm on 5.8.6.
I'm
I'm on 5.8.6 as well.
I just left and upgraded, so I'm the same as you.
You're on 5.8.6, Ed?
Yep.
I would say leave the meeting, upgrade to 5.8.7 because you said you're on a PC, right?
Yep.
You can go to 5.8.7 and see if those messages pop-ups go away.
I don't want to lose them.
You're going to one day if that's the real deal.
Yeah. I turned off auto notification. I actually was annoyed that all of my systems updated last week because I was in the middle of I was between day 2 and 3 of a show, so
yeah.
I disabled it so that I can choose when I update. But yeah, I'll even come back.
Josh, make some changes again. I've made a few changes in my settings.
I'm going to add David Paskin. David now has control.
Nothing.
4 other participants.
Could add me.
And I hear a little bird saying, "Take me away." So Ray, you're no longer in control.
I never
3
had
participants.
control. That's
Oh.
interesting. I never had
Oh, it
any
didn't-
indication. No.
Oh, really? It didn't come to you. Huh. Interesting. So now I just added it again. You don't see a little slide control icon? Interesting. If you click on the screen share box and then use your arrow keys, does anything happen?
This will stop. Oh, because I can't do that because I'm a co-host. So it says this will stop others screen sharing. Do you want to continue?
Oh no, just the box that you see my screen share out of. If you just click that, just click in the box, just says to set it to focus, and then try using your arrow keys. Is that you?
Yeah, I'm looking for the box you're talking about.
Just
Tell you what.
clicking on the share itself. Just anything.
I'm gonna make you the only guy. Okay, Ray. It's all you, Ray. No pressure.
Did you just make a change there, Josh? Because now I don't have the pop-up.
Uh-oh.
Oh dear. Oh goodness. You see what
Thanks,
you did,
Jeff.
Jeff?
Thanks, Jeff.
No problem. I want you to be as bewildered as we were.
All right, everyone, now stay away from 8-7, just so we know. And
Yeah.
Ed, thanks for taking one for the team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least I have 3 more
Well,
machines.
I mean, it
Ray, are
saves
you
us a ton of time because I'm sitting here checking and unchecking boxes and nothing's making a difference. And I thought, what if it's that dot difference in version? And it sounds like it is.
Interesting.
I,
Is that have we determined then that everyone that does not see it is on the latest?
The latest is 8.6.
If you're on a
For Mac.
PC, it's
8.7
8.7,
for
and if you're on a
PC.
Mac, it's 8.6. Yeah.
I'm on a PC 8.7. And
I'm
and
on
it didn't show
PCs
up.
8.7, and I see it on my laptop, not my desktop.
Well, who had to say that now? We
You
thought
know
we had
what,
it all
Ward?
figured out.
Seriously?
I think it's my laptop, which only has one screen. It pops up.
You want to make
Huh.
my other machine that I just came in with a co-host, Jeff?
Oh, you wanted to control
Yeah.
this.
And then the one I just came in on is on 8.6. So
Okay. Yeah, that's a good test.
Okay,
Except
Ward, I'm
Cameron
going
said
to,
that he's running 8.7, and you are getting them.
Yeah, my laptop.
Nuts.
Are both
Ward,
your
I'm gonna-
machines on the same version?
Yeah, I
just
upgraded them
made-
both when I was having troubles with this.
So, Josh, if you make changes, Ed, are you seeing one with pop-ups and one without?
So 2 is now added. I'm going to add Joe right now.
yeah,
Joe is
neither of
added.
them are neither are seeing
Neither one.
pop-ups. No.
Huh.
Hmm.
Maybe
Which
it's
is
not the.
well. Hold on, wait. I had to add somebody else. I had a
I'm going to
different
take Joe
notification.
away.
Go ahead. Throw me in.
I'm going to add Dan. Little birdie told me.
Yeah. Nope. Now, Josh, can you add the one that just says Ed Willock? Not the one Ed Willock and why? Let's see if
I finally found out where it was. I
Ed
have
Willock added?
your slides in my prompter monitor. And so I did not see the little clicky doodle, but now I see it. So I do have control and I'm changing.
Where was it, Ray?
It was in my prompter, which is my second monitor. And,
But
and
where
I
did
didn't
you
see
find it?
at bottom left corner, just like, let me put it down to here. This is where I found it, right here.
Really, Jeff? Jeff's bored.
So that's how I solved that. But I didn't see it up on my teleprompter. Now I see it because I generally don't look at that.
When I said I didn't see it earlier, it turns out it was a coffee cup error. I didn't realize it was in that little spot in the corner, and I
What a
couldn't
group.
see through the cup. Sorry.
That's funny. That's funny.
What a group.
So,
But I
so
don't see it, and
What
I'm
a
a
beta
co-host.
testing group we got here.
yeah,
But I don't see it at all.
yeah. All
Do you
right.
have a coffee cup out?
No, that spot is, and when he had me added, I could see the little left and right arrows, but as co-host, I didn't see a note.
So, Josh, stay shared for a second. I just want to reiterate this point that I don't remember. A short few weeks ago, I brought this out as well. I think this is kind of fairly unknown for most people that are sharing. So I want to drive my own slides and they all of a sudden they end up with people drawing on their slides and animating and so forth, annotating. The only person who can stop that now, a host or co-host can clear, but you can't stop. The only person who can stop that annotation from happening is the person who's sharing. And so, Josh, if you go to your more button on your Zoom toolbar, you'll see an option to disable, I don't know exactly what it says, but it's disable annotation or stop annotation.
But what's interesting is that co-hosts can stop screen sharing,
Oh yeah, you can kill the whole share,
right?
but
So if someone's
only Josh who's sharing
Right.
can say, hey, I want to share, but I want to disable the ability for anybody to annotate, because by default, when somebody shares, everybody can annotate. Now, most people don't, but the younger the crowd, the younger the audience, the more it happens. I
But you can
promise
set
you.
that. You can
Yeah.
in your settings you can change it so that that's not the default.
Sure.
Right.
Jeff
You can take
said-
that ability away completely in the back end. Yeah.
Well, you take it away, but then you can allow it in the middle of a screen share. Like you can toggle it on and off. You can
I
just
don't
set
think so. I
So
don't
I
see
have the-
anything under share screen that has to do with annotation. Or let me go under advanced before I. No, no.
Wouldn't that be
So-
Josh? Because he's sharing his screen, wouldn't he have the power?
Well, just so I understand you correctly, David, you said in the middle of a share you can disable it, right?
yes.
I
That's
thought you were
correct.
saying that by default, I can set my Zoom to not allow annotating by default when I share. That's what I thought I heard from you.
That is what I'm saying. And you
Wha-
can
You-
and
well,
I
then
believe
you
you
have,
can change that.
Then you have to show us that, because I don't know where that is during the show. I know where it is, but on the back end portal, but I don't
Right.
Oh
know.
that's sorry. What I'm
So you're killing annotation altogether across the board when you're doing that, though.
Well, no, you can also when you select that, there's another box that lets it be only the person sharing can annotate in the back end.
Yeah, let me bring up my back end here.
So right now, Josh, when you look at the thing where it says you're sharing and you have options, view options, do you have the option to stop other people from messing with your slide?
Yes.
You have the option to turn it on?
So I have 3 options. The options I have, let me find them again. I can either, oh, you know what? Maybe I was mistaken. I can clear my annotations, all other annotations, or the whole thing. Maybe that's what I was thinking for the
So
clear.
clear
Now,
others,
as far
show
as
us what that does, please.
right, so what I can do
So
is
if I scribbled on his share, it won't erase his annotations, but it'll erase mine. Or
Right.
everybody else other than his.
right. So under the clear button, I have clear all drawings, my drawings, or viewers' drawings. So my drawings, obviously, there are no my drawings. Viewers' drawings, that cleared it. And I have under more, I can either disable or enable annotation for others.
Goodbye, Dan.
Under-
Have a good weekend.
I was wrong. And I
Yeah,
apologize.
I'm not. I was going to ask the same thing as I see.
So
Yeah.
I maybe just no one who comes to my meetings ever annotates. I thought so. I allow annotation in my settings on the back end, but yeah. So you're right.
You
it's on
either
by
turn them
default.
on or turn them off,
Yeah.
and then you can either limit them to you only, or allow everybody.
Well,
Now-
not you only, to the
No,
user who is sharing.
Yeah. Well, that's what I meant. That was the you perspective I was meaning.
Okay.
Is the person
Sometimes
sharing?
it's me, you. Sometimes it's you.
Yeah.
You do you.
But the
Oh,
person
well,
sharing
so
always
I-
has that option.
So it's the person sharing. So yeah, these are. I'm going to be the host of this meeting, and this setting says only the user who is sharing. So anybody in the meeting who's sharing, they're the only ones who can annotate. Which I don't want that limitation. And I guess that's my point on the toolbar, is you have to go there if you've ever had a problem with somebody, accidentally, not accidentally, intentionally interrupting a meeting by annotating somebody's share, the person only the person sharing can actually disable that under the more button of the share toolbar. which is great clarity. I can see. I haven't looked at the annotation options on the back end for a while, so that was.
It's a shame though, because if you've got someone managing or facilitating the meeting for you while someone's presenting, you want them to be able to, help out
Oh
with
yeah,
that.
absolutely.
To your point, though, David, now that we can easily host it ourselves
Hey.
and then give control to somebody else, we, the one sharing them, can manage that. So that does put us in
I
a
don't
better
think so. I think it's just large.
That's
administrative role.
true. If
I think I'm just large. Stand by.
yeah, so if we owned the slide deck and we were the sharer and we gave control, then we could yeah, absolutely have control of the
I think
annotation
too,
if that
like
became an
we
issue
were
too. Yeah.
making a comment before about how you have to continually refocus the buttons whenever you're given control. And I think it's kind of along those lines too. The person that's controlling is not necessarily handcuffed to their slide deck. They can also multitask, and then whenever they want to go back and do slides, they can go back and click the button. And it's a
Yeah.
feature or a limitation depending on how you look at it.
Yeah. Well, so I think where I book it is I used to every once in a while I'd do freelance work, and the person who owned the contract and the customer, they would say we have to give them remote control via Zoom. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I'd argue it if the customer wasn't there because I'm just giving up the ghost on that machine, right? And and it's one of those things. It's not that it's like, oh well, what, you have to multitask on that machine because that wasn't the argument. If there's a problem on that machine, somebody, say the person who has remote control doesn't have focus, the slide won't move anymore or whatever, and they're doing something else on their computer with the mouse, that's my mouse too. And so when I'm trying to move my mouse to fix a problem, their mouse is doing something else, and we're just like pulling at each other. It's a nightmare. And so I think the presentation controls, I think they not literally rip remote control apart and remove it, but I mean, because there's definitely applications for that, just not not in presentations. I think support, it does okay, but I think the ability to share and not have to keep focus and so forth. I think it's a benefit for sure, but I think the limitations to the one controlling it to just forward and back, I think that's the biggest win, because the fact of the matter is remote control, they could kill the slide presentation altogether and expose your desktop and everything. So yeah, it was a mess.
May I try that keynote again?
Yeah.
Okay.
And just go ahead and
Okay. It's
share, stomp on top of somebody else's. That's fine, because that's Josh's share. It'll kill
So-
his and start yours.
okay. I am going to show you the screen because this is not working the way I think it is, and so let me just share. Come on, share screen. There we go. Yes. Sorry, Josh.
No
I'm going
Are
to
apologies.
you
share
doing
my
the share screen?
whole
Okay, there
desktop
you go.
so that you
There
can
you go.
see what's going on. So here's my thing, my keynote. I can play a slideshow. If I do that, it'll take the whole screen and there are no buttons. If I try this one, Keynote Live,
No,
then I
no,
get a
you-
message
you-
saying you have
you
to
were
be in the
good
cloud.
You were good on the first one. Hit play. Now
But
on the
there's no
bottom,
list of people to give you,
you have to click on slide control next to your more button on the toolbar down there.
hiding behind the microphone. Okay.
It's either
Here you
that
go.
or a coffee cup.
Is
Yeah,
it
I
a
don't
coffee
drink
cup
coffee.
shaped microphone?
Now you can scroll that list too, but yeah, now you got it.
Okay, guys, have at
The
it.
the other thing you can do, Lois, is you can present that keynote in a window instead of taking up your full screen, and then just share that window.
Okay, we'll try that. Play in
So if
window.
you no,
There we go. Play in window.
right. So you can get
But-
rid of that thing if you don't want it. That's just your controller. But then in
Okay.
Zoom, change your share to just that window.
Ah. Let me see, change share. There should be
So
a
click on
change
new share.
And just that window. Okay. All right. So you're
Now
seeing just that
you're in
now.
right.
Now
And
I
it should not have taken over your full screen.
It didn't. And I'm clicking through things, so that part's working. Can you all click through things too? I have six
No, you'll have
sharing.
to reallocate the share
Now,
controls.
are you sharing a portion of your screen, or are you sharing a window that was popped up when you hit play in Keynote?
Play in Keynote. Hold on a second.
It was a window. She chose the window.
Zoom.us.app would like to
But why
control
does it have rounded
computer.
corners? I don't get
Okay,
that.
so I've got a message that says I have to let it control the computer. All right, I guess I'll do that. I should be sharing the whole thing so you can see, because I don't see allow things to share your computer. Zoom.
Is that the first time you allow control? You need a permission on the Mac?
And it's not working. It's grayed out. Okay, hold on.
It may have been that you shared a window, not the actual slideshow.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
that's
this is
one of
what
the
I'm
options
seeing.
in Keynote. Lewis?
Yeah?
Lois,
You have to
one of the
unput that.
options in Keynote. One of the options in Keynote is to when you play in the play drop down, it gives you the option of playing in a window or playing full screen.
Right, I went into the window,
Okay.
but I'm having a Mac issue. Let me stop sharing totally,
Well,
because the Zoom is wanting control and the Mac is not
yeah.
giving
So
it.
I think what you have to do,
That's
Lois, 'cause I
probably a
saw that
security preference. Yeah.
exactly where you were in that privacy window. You have to click the little lock at the bottom left corner. It'll ask you to put in your password, and then
Thank you. You noticed something there.
yep.
I missed that part.
I'm gonna
Okay,
test
Zoom,
something while you're
yes.
getting set up.
Okay, there we go.
And I think that appears to be a Mac/Keynote issue where I did not remember having to give permissions when I shared either Google Slides or PowerPoint. from the
David, did
PC.
you get slide control from me?
Yeah, Windows has no security, Josh. So
I
Got it.
just upgraded my operating system too, so I haven't gone through and made sure everything is as I wanted. Okay. So,
Does anybody,
Josh, can I take over
George,
again?
hang on, Ed, George, Josh, or David, do any of you have slide control from me right now?
No.
no.
Negative.
Yeah, I want to. So yeah, so if this works in Keynote in windowed mode, that would be a benefit because it's a Mac in Keynote. Because I went back to PowerPoint one more time and launched this in PowerPoint's windowed mode again, just to verify, and it still won't recognize. So it definitely doesn't work in PowerPoint. I'll be interested to see what it does with the Mac window mode.
Okay. So there I am. I want to play in window. There we go. And then I go to slide control, and there's Ray, there's Ward, there's Joe, there's George, there's Josh. That should be enough of you. Anybody else want it? Ed. All right.
I have no control. So.
Participants
is
only
that-
see slide control when you are in presentation mode.
Yep. So you would have
Yeah,
to
I
go to the
believe
play
you're
button
not in-
instead of play in window.
And presentation mode is a Zoom thing, or is that a Keynote thing?
That's a Keynote thing.
Yeah, it's play is full screen and play in window is what it is. It plays in window mode, so it doesn't consume your entire screen. But I think it's acting the same way as PowerPoint window mode does. Is the presentation controls don't recognize that unless it's
But-
full screen Prezo mode.
Lois
agree
is
with you,
not
Jeff.
in presentation mode at all at this
She's
point.
not.
She's
You're in
Why do you say that?
preparation
I
mode.
just took it out of.
She was in play in window.
Play and play in window.
But where's the window? I guess maybe
We're
that's
not
what
seeing
everybody's
it.
asking.
There's the window.
Maybe you
Don't see it?
selected the wrong window.
Lois.
Yeah, now you have to share that window.
Yeah,
You're
you're
sharing. We're still
you're sharing the
your
wrong
screen.
window.
Yeah.
I'm sorry about that. Let me try that again. Share screen.
Lois only has one monitor.
Yeah.
There we go. Do you see my
There you
window?
go.
Yep.
Let me see
And now
that.
you'll have to
Okay.
give us try to
Now
give
let's
people.
see if that works still. All right. Now it says participants only see slide controls when you are in presentation mode. Do you
Yeah.
all see the slide controls now?
Well, it always shows that message. It just grant it to several people and see if they actually get it.
Yeah, I gave it to 4 people. I'll add
Yeah.
Jeff and David. We're up to 6.
Nope.
Yeah, it's not working.
I do see a message saying 7 people have slide control.
Yes, you do have that message.
I did get that message again, only on my laptop.
I've
Okay.
never seen it, but I believe
Okay.
you.
I don't
And
see it
those 7
anymore.
people, somebody moved something. Nothing's working? Nothing's moving?
No
Negative.
controls.
We don't get the left right arrows at all. What happens if you go into presentation mode after you've shared?
Okay.
You
well,
can
what
you
about if
can
you click
share
on this
and
and
then
use
go.
your arrows on the keyboard instead of on the screen?
Yeah, nothing.
Nothing. Okay.
Negative.
So you want me to stop the presentation, and that would mean stop share.
It already stopped your share.
Okay. Oh, that's interesting. If you close the window that it's showing, it
Correct.
automatically stops share. It doesn't
Yeah,
show
yeah.
anything else.
Yeah,
That's
there's
cool.
nothing to share at that point, so it kills it. But
So it sounds
So
like
we
this isn't
think
going to
it's
do me any
because-
good.
Is it true that you can only turn over control of a full screen window and not a windowed mode?
I think
keynote?
it's a full screen window or share the presentation application itself. Yeah, so either share the presentation from PowerPoint or Keynote or the full screen of the PowerPoint or Keynote presentation.
Okay, now I'm on full screen. Let me
Yep.
add Josh and George and Joe. and
Now I
Lori
got
and
it.
Rick and
Yep.
David.
Instantly works.
Someone's doing it.
Yep. Yeah.
Next slide, please. Next slide. No, previous slide. Previous slide.
A little
Someone's
birdie
gonna
told
have
me.
to send you a monitor for Christmas, Lois.
Why?
Because you can't manage a Zoom meeting while you're doing this at the same time because it's got to be full screen.
True.
I mean, you can do this and it works, but you wouldn't be able to manage the rest of the meeting actively. And with 2 monitors, you would.
Right.
Interestingly, I
Typically,
don't think I actually have control. So it says I do. Oh,
Okay,
it's just,
nobody else change
goes,
anything, just Ed do it.
It just goes real slow. Okay, that's me doing it. I'm advancing at a pretty even pace.
Good.
And now going back. Okay. Yeah, it was just it just felt like it was kind of slow, and it's probably getting confused.
Well, there was
with
7
so many
people
of us, yeah.
trying to do the same thing.
Check pointers where we can see them.
Poor little brain.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
And did we say that the partial screen is
I was
not?
just gonna.
That
do
wasn't supported either.
Did we test that?
I
I
did
think that was
portion
one
of
of the
screen
that
first.
that was the first thing Lois did.
I have
Well,
another-
actually, no, because I did portion of screen, but I did it with in the
Without
editing
present-
mode, not in playing
Not
this
in
slideshow
presentation.
mode. So I haven't tried that part.
All right, hold on, I'm making mine.
Yeah, I have a little
All right,
tidbit
so
of.
that's a portion of screen that I'm sharing that I expanded to be full screen on a slide. So if somebody wants to, let's see, I have to make somebody.
Make everybody.
Ah, interesting.
That'll be crazy.
So I don't have the button I have isn't slide control, it's remote control.
Ah,
Mhm.
interesting. So you can remote control a portion of the screen,
Yes.
Hmm.
Yeah.
and that's to one individual at a time, correct?
Well, let's see. I just gave Jeff. And let me see where it is.
So what can Jeff control? Jeff?
Is that a PC or a Mac, Ed?
PC.
So,
So
you're
Josh
doing
has control
you're
now.
doing presentation controls.
I can only
Well-
do one. Yeah.
What are you
So
sharing?
it's
I mean, what are you
I'm
using?
sharing. This is that same test deck. I just went to where it had more interesting stuff than just graphics. 1, 2, 3,
But
4.
you're passing the presentation control from Zoom that we've been tested on.
No, it's not presentation mode. It is here. I'm gonna move that over just a little bit. Sorry, Josh. It took. Yeah, this is where me and Josh are gonna battle for the mouse.
Oh, it's remote control.
But it's remote control. It doesn't give me the option for. Now Josh would be able to take control back
Oh, on
again.
this computer, you're not getting.
No, that doesn't.
That's
give
also
me
a setting you have to have enabled, right? Remote control, because I remember keeping that
No,
off.
Yep.
I don't know.
And then
Only
anytime
the
I click on
host.
something,
Only the host. Like who in this meeting right now has flipped this presentation control setting on your account at
Mm,
Zoom's portal? I don't think you have to. As far as me being the host, I absolutely have to because it enables it in the meeting. But as far as attendees, I mean, that would be a nightmare. It's like, here's a new feature, but you got to tell the world, all those strangers in your meeting, that they have to, turn it on. That's nonsense. So,
No, but I guess what I'm asking is, if I'm hosting a meeting, I never have this. I never have it turned on my computer because I don't know. I just never did,
the
unless I
slide
have this
control.
remote support.
Oh, remote. Yeah.
If I don't have that turned on, then it's completely disabled during my meetings. Yes,
Correct.
well,
for everyone.
there's
right.
remote support and there's remote control, isn't there? Isn't there two different things?
Are they two different things?
Yeah,
I
because one.
think you're right because earlier on, if you turned on remote support, you had to toggle off another feature that I can't.
Yeah, they're
It
two
doesn't.
separate things.
Where's remote control then? I don't.
Below whiteboard.
You can look up remote control. It's right under whiteboard and meeting basics settings. Um, allow remote controlling user to share clipboard. That's all it does. And
David, you
I've
know how
just
to
looked
do a
it up. Remote
search, don't you, for a
control
word?
allows you to take control of their screen, or remote support allows for desktop control,
Right.
application control, and computer restart.
Yeah, remote support is if I'm the host and somebody's having some sort of computer issue, like they can't figure anything out, I can then. It's like remote desktop. It's exactly what it's a remote
So
desktop.
I don't
through Zoom.
understand. I don't understand then the difference between remote control and remote and slide control.
The difference being that slide control, as we found out, only affects the PowerPoint or the Keynote, or which surprising that Josh that it worked with the Google, because that's not even mentioned in the slide control. It says PowerPoint or Keynote slide presentation. It doesn't say anything about Google Slides. So where Josh and I were just kind of battling back and forth for the mouse when he had remote control of my desktop, of my screen share, I could still be doing something else if I was in slide control. If I gave somebody slide control, they could advance slides, but I could be doing something else in the background without them losing that control. So slide control really gets to the granular of just PowerPoint, Keynote, and apparently Google Slides.
So there's
Yeah.
also remote support.
Yeah,
think
I
you
was just going to
mentioned
ask
that.
about that. So what's remote support then?
So remote
I have-
remote support is like remote desktop. So if like instead of having to use like Google Remote Desktop or RDP on Windows or something like that, or I forget what the Mac version is, through Zoom, I can go in and then I can access, like I could do your whole desktop. So I could go to your file explorer and I could click icons on your desktop as opposed to and do more deeper support. That's like some what I've had to do for like my technically challenged mother who's aging and had to help her out. Instead of like having her figure out a remote desktop program like Google Remote Desktop, I could do that through Zoom, click in, and then I can control her machine. So that's where the difference is. So the remote control, you're really just controlling what's shared, which I guess is if you're sharing your desktop, you have some desktop control. But if you're only sharing an application, it doesn't leave the application. Remote support, would let me do more things. And I think would even let me get into the Zoom settings where a lot of times you can't access the Zoom settings with the remote control. Yeah, they couldn't have made it a little more confusing.
A
with the
question about
terminology.
that. Enabling that in the web settings means that a meeting that I start with my grandmother,
Mhm.
I can allow her then to offer me control, or is it something that she would have to enable in her web settings to
It
control
has
her
to be
computer?
enabled on both people's web settings. So
Both
both
web
backends.
settings.
Yeah.
Okay. So no free
Yeah.
lunch then.
Both the
Okay.
host and the participant have to
Yep.
go into their zoom.us website on the browser.
Exactly. I think it even says that where you find it.
Well, that's pretty
So under the
pointless if the person is
prerequisites,
94 and you got to help them.
using remote support under the prereq versions are there, of course, but it says remote support feature enabled. So prerequisite is that remote support feature is enabled on the meeting host's account. That they don't list the recipients.
Oh, really? Okay. I thought that one had to be both. Does remote control have to be on both? I know one of them has to be on both.
Have to look.
My son uses this every day to do tech support. And as long as it's set in his account, he then can request it from the other participant, specifically one participant at a time. Once they say yes, then he has control of their mouse.
Yeah.
Sounds like it's like Quick Assist on Windows.
Right.
Exactly.
So that makes sense. If you wanted to eliminate a security vulnerability in your meeting, you would select that off. But if you wanted to enable remote assistance in that meeting, you would enable it on. So it makes sense.
Jeff, is it on for this meeting?
I think remote, I didn't look, but I'm pretty sure remote support is on in my meetings. Remote control is on. Let me look for support. Remote support is also on, yeah.
I don't remember how you actually request it though from somebody. That's
This is something that I would very much like to learn how to do
So
because have frequently have
I don't think it's available to anybody but the host because I have a support button on my toolbar and I can request desktop control, request application control, or I can request a computer restart. Hey Lois, just say yes to this pop-up that's coming. Just kidding. but I do. Well, here, let me share my screen. Number 2 here. So I have this
that would end
support
the
button,
support pretty quick though if you
and
restart your machine.
here's the 3 options: desktop, application, or a restart. And if I wanted to do desktop control, then I get a list of everybody I can select from, and I
I'm
can say,
happy
hey,
to do it.
Ed,
I haven't seen anything
request.
yet.
I just did. I was kidding with you earlier because I was going to do a restart, but I don't want to reboot your computer. That'd just be mean.
No, he'll just do it to mine.
No. So mine's so I sent a request to Ed for desktop control. Did you get it? A request from me?
I don't see one. Do it again. I might have just put it up.
And you're
George
only
is-
signed in once?
I'm signed in. Oh, I'm signed in. Do it to the NY, or it doesn't matter. Pick which one you want to do. I don't care. But I'll look at.
Let
I
me
wasn't
find
looking at the Ed Willock one.
I did it to the Ed Willock one.
Okay.
I
Yeah,
don't
sorry,
even
I'll look
see
for it.
oh, there's the NY. Here we go.
Yeah. So that gave. Yep. So I granted permission.
So now I have this is full on remote control, right? Like which screen do I want to control? Number 1 or number 2? Oh, because I stopped sharing too, so you're not seeing it. So I can see Ed on the right side of my screen. I can see desktop number 1, his desk monitor number 1, or I can click on a little pop-up dialog. I wonder if it'll let me share this while I'm.
You are sharing right now.
I am sharing.
But what they're
We're not
seeing.
seeing what you're talking about.
No. So what you all are seeing is actually
You're
my
seeing
desktop.
Ed.
You're seeing one of my desktops that has my Zoom. That PowerPoint behind it, It has the
Oh yeah.
browser with my Zoom settings window, and then it's the active speaker window,
Yeah.
smaller.
So
So that's my desktop.
so I have on my Zoom window, I have two video windows. The right side is just Ed's camera, so I know who I'm supporting, so we can talk. The left one right now is his screen number 2. That's your monitor number 2, right?
Yep,
What you
the one
can't
I'm
see
moving my
is
mouse on.
I have just a little miniature floating window that has a select which screen to control, and I can click on one or click on two. So I can literally change. So in the share, you'll see his desktop just changed to his monitor 1.
That's my other.
Now
Yep,
it
that's my other
changed to
desktop.
monitor 2. That's pretty cool. That's pretty powerful.
Yep.
Okay.
And then I have the ability. I have the ribbon, basically like the screen share ribbon that has all your settings, and it says waiting for Jeff Widgren to control your screen. I can stop this share. I can actually give slide control from here too. So it looks like Jeff, you
I
dropped.
killed it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's good. So it's host driven,
Right.
the support button, and then whether I ask for desktop application. So if I ask for application control, Ed,
Sure.
I'm going to request that. Then it should give me a list of your open apps.
Yep. Well, it popped up a window on my side, and then I can choose which app I want to give you.
So I don't
over.
get to see them,
No.
but you get to see them, and then
Yeah. So
select
you
which one
can't
you're going to give
run
me.
completely rampant through my system.
Yeah.
But
That's cool.
what I'm interested to see is can I. So just like screen share, if you hold control, I can pick multiple
apps.
multiple.
Well, do
apps.
that if you have 3 apps that you can give me. I'd like to see how that presents to me on my end.
Sure. Yeah. Let me.
And then I'll.
Can we get George in here for a minute too?
No, I want to roll back. I don't think we finished the Mac keynote. We only did Lois's, and Lois has an unusual setup. I would suggest.
Yeah.
She's using a single monitor, and it may be completely different on a dual.
Okay, good. I can give you that. Cool. So let's see if I. For some reason. Okay, so I have PowerPoint open. I also have. Oh, hold on. There's a show all windows. Okay, so it only shows a handful at first, and then I had to click a button that says show all windows because I was missing some of the stuff. So I'm going to give you a PowerPoint. I'm going to give you PDF, so Adobe, Acrobat, and then I will give you. I don't know. I'll open VLC, and I'll give you VLC. Oh, of course, I opened it after. Here, request that control again. There we go. So, like I said, I'll give you a PowerPoint. I will give you VLC, and where's PDF? Cool. So we're looking at the PowerPoint right now, it looks like.
Yeah, so that's the PowerPoint.
And you switched between the windows of the PowerPoint.
Yeah.
You went into presentation mode.
So so nothing popped up
And
to
that-
me indicating that you shared multiple apps.
See if you Alt Tab.
Zoom
Because they are highlighted. So looking at them, they have a box around them as if they were able to be shared. Yeah, as you're alt tabbing, it's opening.
But
alt
I
tab
can't
on my,
see it.
You can't. Interesting.
Now I
Well,
hit
alt tab will tell
escape
you when you're.
and to get it out of presentation
Okay, yeah.
mode.
Try alt tabbing.
But I still can't see the alt tab.
So hit tab again, and I'll tell you when you're. Well, hold down alt and do alt tab until you get to another. There, you're on VLC now. So try that.
So
Release
I
it
left. I released it, but it didn't change.
Didn't change.
Yeah, and so I'm not finding where I can see the multiple apps to choose from while I'm supporting you. So,
Interesting.
all right, let's
Yeah.
let's go back to the presentation on Keynote so that George can get his hands on it, because this was a little bit of a sidetrack, but I think it's a good dig. It could use some more time. George, go ahead and bring up a Keynote and tell us what setup you're on, how many monitors and so forth. And
All right. Dual monitors on an iMac Pro. Pardon me. I'm going to do a screen share, and what I'll try to do is screen share, then do Keynote to a window, and then open it up full in that screen and see if it can be done there. That's what I'm aiming for, because it gives me some flexibility to be able to move stuff around, then go full screen, then share that screen. I don't know if it'll work. Okay,
gotcha.
so if you're good with that, okay. Now I see you. I'm going to pull you off because I've got speaker view on that other monitor. I'm going to get you off there. Come on. It will not come off. Damn. Just give me a sec. I don't know why I can't get the speaker view off that screen. My mouse is.
You're not sharing yet.
I know that. Just give me a sec, please. And the second monitor, okay. I don't have a monitor up. Can you see an old laptop?
Yes.
With
My
a
first
green
laptop.
background behind it. Your first, there you go. A luggable. Okay, and now where am I? All right, I see slide control. And I'm gonna give it to you, Jeff. Do you see it?
Nope.
No slide control. Okay.
Nope.
Oh, sorry. Control this. I've got to open system preferences here and make a change. And okay, so Zoom wants to control my computer. Hang on a sec. Okay, all right, I'm going to stop the share and start again because I just made a change here. I hope I don't have to reboot in order to do that. Oh, and Jeff's back over. Okay, I see slide control to Jeff again. Anything? I'm going to give it to also to Josh because you're not a host or co-host.
I don't see
And that's,
anything.
you don't see anything. Okay. So I'm going to go out of Keynote. Give me a sec.
And just so you know, I'm
But-
sharing back what you're sharing us.
And you're not playing Keynote
George?
right now.
Pardon me, Jeff? Oh, okay. That's what's happening. That's weird. It was pointed at my second screen, but it was showing a window that was on the first.
Hmm.
Okay. All right. So Keynote, we're going to stop Keynote playing. And I'm going to go play. Isn't that bizarre? I've got no controls in Keynote on that other monitor now. Okay. Because Zoom wants that second screen and doesn't want me to have it, apparently. All right, so here we go. I'm going to play in full screen, and now what is going on here? I can't control Keynote all of a sudden.
Is it
All
just
right, let's try
Keynote
it
or
again. No, I got it now. Okay, in full screen. So I'm going to go to play, and now I can't see any Zoom controls.
You can use Alt tab or Command tab till you find your Zoom controls.
On
And-
Mac?
Yeah, Command tab. We'll cycle through all your
Command
open
tabs.
windows.
Not going through anything. It's not happening at all.
Weird.
Okay, so there's something strange with the two monitor thing here. Okay, so let me just do a different screen share.
now you had to give permission for control? Is that correct, George?
Yes, I did have the option of the shares, so I made it to you and to Jeff. 'Cause
And this is the first
sometimes
time you've
there's-
been prompted with that permission?
Yeah, let me go to advanced and do slides. Slides as virtual background is the only thing I have here now, or a
Because
monitor,
you're
or
not
I can share.
sharing.
I'm about to hit the share button, Lois. Thank you.
No, I'm just
Now I'm
saying, I
sharing.
don't think it comes up until you're sharing.
No, he was on the share. He was on the share selection, like everything that's available to share.
Okay, there's Jeff again and Josh again.
Okay. I've
Okay,
got
now I've got it.
There's
controls.
2 other participants now have slide control. Okay,
It's working
Yep.
for me.
okay, good.
That's full screen keynote.
That is full screen keynote, yes.
Yeah.
Now, let me
Okay.
see if I can stop the share and try not quite full screen keynote and see if I can play to a window. And let's see if that works when I hit share. So, okay, that's probably not going to work, but this might. And I've got slide control again, and I'm doing the same thing to Jeff and to Josh.
Nothing.
Nothing.
Nothing yet.
Okay. No, no, nothing at all. So clearly it has to be in full screen Keynote from the get-go. So load up Keynote, select play full screen. Then when you're ready to share, hit the play button and
Well,
go into share.
That order isn't a have to. You can share first and then hit play, and it'll still work. It just, we won't see the control, even if you grant us. So hit share, give us slide control. We won't see anything until you hit play on Keynote. Then we'll see the controls.
Okay. All right. So let me do that. I'm going to bring this.
Which
stop
for
playing.
Lois, that order works for you because it, like,
You
if
saw
you
my
had
window.
to, if you had to go full screen and then go try to share, that would be a real pain. But
you
you
saw it
can.
in a window, though.
No. He's not. No, we've proven I think 3 times now that it doesn't work in a window. But
But that's what you had with me.
yeah, yours didn't work in a window. Yours only worked full screen also.
That's right.
Yep.
So that's me. Now, until I hit share, I don't have the slide control options. I have
Yeah,
to
you
share
have
first.
to share Keynote first.
Right. Then I can go to play in full screen. No, that's not. Sorry, that was my mistake. Then I have to choose here, which you can't see, full screen.
Yeah, we can.
And then when I hit play, now I've got the slide controls.
Yeah.
Oops.
Well,
And then I can do the assignment. Choose.
yeah, but undo this. Undo your share again and kill
Yep.
the presentation. Share Keynote.
Yeah. So
Then
I'm
you
just gonna
should
share
then
Keynote.
give slide control. But don't put Keynote in presentation mode. So now because you're shared on the Zoom toolbar, you should have slide control.
I do.
Now
are
give
you
us
seeing
give
my
us
shared screen?
We're seeing your shared screen, but give us slide control before you go to full screen presentation mode.
Okay.
Because either or, my whole point is either order works.
Should work. Yeah. Okay. So I've done the share.
And
I've
so just to
given slide
confirm, before you hit play, you've given who control?
I've started screen share. I've
Yep.
given slide control to Jeff and to Josh.
Okay,
a host
and Jeff and
just
Josh,
an
I don't
audience.
see any control. Josh,
Confirmed.
Yep.
okay,
I have not hit play yet.
correct.
And there we go.
Now
Now
we
I
see
see it.
control. Yep,
Yep. And now
Yeah.
I can see that you're down there and you have it.
yep.
Okay.
So yeah,
That's a great
So
slide presentation, by the way, George.
Oh, thank you. Just playing around.
cool.
Yeah, what was interesting too,
good.
just to note, when you shared, George, there was a little bit of window at the bottom that we were not able to see. It was like blacked out. So
Oh, interesting.
so that has to do with your optimize settings. You know, the optimize for video and stuff.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I hit it that time or not. Let me just see.
Yeah,
Yeah,
if
I
we're
did
seeing-
actually the last time I had optimized.
Yeah, well, those overlay windows happen when a machine is capable of showing those disturbing overlay boxes. You have to uncheck optimize to get rid of them. But there's also, we've never talked about this here before. Do this, George. Go ahead and share again and share optimize so that we can see those gray overlay windows. And I want to show you one other way that you can get them, because I don't love the idea of unoptimizing, especially if you know there's some motion inside what you're going to share, right? But you have a gray box, so we can see the gray box on the top there. Now it just went away. Why did it go away?
I
It's a
don't know.
pop-up window that popped down.
Yeah, exactly. Just pop up.
It was a notification that turned itself off.
I got you. Oh, I got you. So, George, when you're anybody, when you're sharing, if people say, "Hey, we can see like gray boxes," you can also go to, I think it's under the More button on the toolbar, and I don't know exactly what it says, but it basically it's something like hide Zoom windows under the More button.
I'm not seeing hide. I've got hide video panel, hide floating meeting controls, and
There
then
you
I'm
go.
into the
That's
share
the one.
computer
Hide
center.
floating controls.
Hide floating meeting controls. So
Oh, that.
And now it's on. We see the gray
You
screen.
see it flash up and go
Now it's
off?
gone.
yeah.
That was a
Correct.
notification to me.
So you don't have to unoptimize. The quickest way to solve it is share and uncheck optimize, and those windows won't show. But if you're sharing something that you really do need optimized, which is a better frame rate as a result, you don't want to sacrifice that. You can go to the More button in the toolbar and disable those floating windows. Just be warned. It takes like 2 seconds for them to go away. I mean, it's almost a little bit uncomfortable, but they will go away. And and that I got exposed to that like, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks ago for the first time. I thought, oh, there we go.
In production, I don't have floating windows. I limit stuff. I want it attached to my main Zoom window so they're not floating around to keep them from doing that, including my controls. I like them locked to the bottom of the main Zoom
And
screen.
while you're still sharing, George, does the Alt key toggle on and off your floating windows?
Which is that? Sorry, Jeff, I didn't get that.
The Alt key? Does it
Option.
toggle?
On a Mac.
I'm on a Mac.
Yeah, it'll be
Oh.
option.
So
Alt and
Yeah, it's one of
option
the
are the same
options.
thing.
Yeah. Option.
Just
let me
option.
get that. To stop sharing. Oh yeah, there is a. Yeah, I just use this. My Stream Deck.
Option's a modifier key. I think you have to have some other key as well to do anything.
Pretty sure it's a multiple keys on a Mac.
Yeah.
It's like 3
Okay.
keys.
The reason I asked is because the toolbar in the regular window turns on and off with the Alt key in Windows.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay,
it
well,
does.
thank
Which
you.
is very annoying because when your Stream Deck uses Alt plus commands, it always toggles on and off the thing indiscriminately.
Right. Oh, happy.
Mhm.
Well, thanks for doing that. I just I wanted
Show.
to see
Oh,
if
this
there was
is
a
an easy
difference,
one.
you know?
So show on a Mac. Show hide floating meeting controls is. I don't even know what that one. What the up caret is control.
The arrow is shift and the propeller or splat is command.
That's command. But what's the almost letter Z?
That's an alt or
That's
option.
an alt.
the-
So it's
that's the
control
option
alt
key.
command H on a Mac. That's
Yes.
convenient.
And
Yeah,
you
well,
can
change those.
reassign that, like if you have a big enough keyboard, mine goes F1
Yeah.
through F19, and you can reassign that to be something on one of your function keys.
Yeah.
Funny story.
I just
in
realized
Windows.
that if you click on it to edit it, it actually will spell out Control Option Command H. I didn't know it would do that. That's
Funny
cool.
thing on Windows, you cannot reassign that key, unfortunately. You can
That key or
assign
any?
the Alt to always show meeting controls
Yeah.
is the only one that I can't. I can do all the other Alt plus F1, F2, switch to gallery view.
Interesting.
Can't switch it, so it'll continually. It's the one that I want to switch, right?
I can.
Just, I can't.
Show hide floating meeting controls on
No,
Windows.
not the floating, just the always show meeting controls.
Yeah. So
Oh,
this guy here.
always.
So I can do speaker view, gallery view. See how you can change these. I cannot change the Alt,
Oh, the alt. Yeah. That's hard coded through and through.
so it'll
And
continue
it's
to error
not
for me.
global either. It's not able to be made global. All right.
If you have to use a keyboard shortcut, and I'm using quotes, for something that requires 4 fingers, there should be an automatic discount to buying a Stream Deck
I know, right?
attached to that, shouldn't there?
I know. Yeah, it's not
So let
exactly
it
a
be written.
shortcut.
That's where
Ev-
Vicrio, Vicrio Listener can be very useful for
Yeah.
that, and then you can actually build, completely, make shortcuts that you can't really do one-handed, so that you don't accidentally do them with something else. A buddy of mine uses QLab extensively while he's using Zoom, and there are some hotkeys that overlap. So he changed all of his Zooms to have completely weird shortcut keys because he uses QLab far more often, and then put them using Vicrio Listener, put them on his Stream Deck, so that when he's doing something in QLab, he doesn't accidentally do something in Zoom, because he also sets a lot of those to be global shortcuts in Zoom. So
I gotta go, guys. Nice to see you.
yeah, I'm going to
You
run
too,
momentarily.
Lois.
But one of the other things, Jeff, about those floating windows or the grayed out windows when you're screen sharing, is in your screen share advanced setting window. There's also more settings for your screen capture mode, and there's window filtering versus not window filtering and things like that. So
Yeah.
those are things we should play with one day, just to go through what each one does, because that also gets rid of those windows, those the grayed out.
Yeah. How?
Most people
Yeah.
have it set on auto.
Part of
but
it's on there's screen capture mode. There's 5 different options. So we'll have to can check that out. Well, very good. The one item that I'm going to carry over to next Friday, so we covered well again with great success. I mean, not only did it work, but we've found some of those, undocumented behaviors and no floating windows. That's a gimme, right? It's got to be full presentation mode and so forth. Little things like that. The order actually doesn't matter, but no one that you give control to is going to see it until you're in presentation mode, and that's fine. So we covered that, spotlighting yourself as the host from the participants list, just kind of bringing that out if you ever end up, if you need it, you can do it. I mean, a lot of people, I don't know. I think people who, get paid to manage Zoom a lot know that, the participants list is a fairly valid choice if you have to. Not your first choice, but it's there. But if you're feeding OBS into Zoom or vMix into Zoom or whatnot, it usually slaps people upside the head like it did me when you go, hey, I'm gonna have to spotlight myself from there, and used to realize it's not an option, and now they've added that. So now I can spotlight myself as well. Just shared the tip of the sharing, launching basically 2 presentations in presentation mode and sharing them both at the same time, one at a time, right? And then just alt tabbing to seamlessly switch between multiple presentations running at the same time. If you have multiple decks, you didn't have enough time, you got them really late, you couldn't merge them into a master deck, that it's an option. automatic updates, I think everybody's kind of been there now. But the one thing that we didn't spend any time on was advanced polling, and there's a lot to talk about There's a lot of a lot of options. We can upload images now. There's the ranks and so forth that I think let's see, I had them here. Yeah. So single choice, multiple choice, matching. Poll participants can match prompts on the left side with the answers on the right side. Rank order. Poll participants can rank each item based on the provided scale. Up to 10 items can be provided for each question, with scale allowing a range of 2 to 7 options. And then there's a short answer and a long answer. And then you can upload images and so forth. Images have to be a PNG or a JPEG, they note, and you can require or not. You can also turn your polls into quizzes. So you're telling the poll engine what the right answer is, so that you can actually get a scored result at the end of it as well. And not just the number of votes, but who got what, how many right and wrong, and so forth. So that'll be, I think, a really interesting one to dig into, like just how detailed is it. But yeah, make a quiz, set the correct answers, set the answers shown, and then you can launch them. And then there's a whole reporting that's available for poll results as well. You can generate reports of poll results. So they've really stepped it up, and I think I'm pretty confident it can consume an entire Zoom test kitchen and so forth. So I'll bring that over next week and get after that.
Seems like a cliffhanger.
Yeah. I don't
Absolutely.
usually close out that way, but I know it's too much for me to keep going at 15 minutes past 2 hours being here already. So I'm not even gonna kind of start that.
So Jeff,
Yeah.
what would be interesting though with some of that advanced polling stuff, especially, is if we have a machine that hasn't been updated yet, because polling has to be built in the back end, not in the client.
Well, the
So-
host, yeah, it's always built in the back end, but if it's not pre-built, only the host can start that process while in meeting. But you can
Right.
dynamically add them while you're in meeting.
Yeah, but it takes you to your back end. It's not,
Oh,
you
yeah,
have to still be logged into
absolutely.
your Zoom.us. But your Zoom.us, like, say you built this with the plan of doing a quiz, but then you launched your meeting in an older version that this isn't supported in.
You wouldn't be able to build the polls.
But you're building
I see.
building them
The
in the
back end
end.
will always let you build it because the back end is more capable than knowing what you're going to launch it in. No, that's a
Exactly.
good point. Yeah. The Zoom desktop client requirements are, and this is for everybody. This is me, the host, and anybody participating, is 5.8.3. Will let them participate.
Yeah, I
It
don't have a
says
machine that's
desktop
that far
client,
back.
mobile app, and web client, which is cool. So it's supported pretty well.
Are you saying, Ed, that the host machine that's not updated?
Yeah, so like let's say so you're using a client account, right? And you built these polls, but whoever's actually going to be the host is on an older version. Like an enterprise, like, so, as me as the Zoom tech, I built it for them, but the actual host account, if it's enterprise and they haven't updated, they could be running on something that actually can't launch or do these polls. So it'd be interesting to see that. I ran into something the other day, not to get on too much of a tangent, just because Jeff, you mentioned the web client, and that's great that it works. I was using a platform that uses the web SDK, and I wasn't contracted to do anything with the platform. I was just the back end Zoom person. But when I went to test everything, nothing looked the way they wanted it to, because the platform uses the embedded web SDK to
And
bring
that's
Zoom
older.
into.
Yeah.
It's older, and so like in a webinar, for example, some of the reasons we choose webinars because we can really kind of force that speaker view and that spotlighted view. The Web SDK looks at a webinar even in active speaker view with the ribbon on the top of your panelists and then the spotlight bigger, even though it's a webinar, because the Web SDK only has that view unless you pop out of to full screen. Like you have to actually go to full screen, but you can't just drag your window. So it was a very it made a lot of changes on this event that I've been doing this past week that we weren't expecting, and we changed from the platform to popping into regular Zoom. So then, when users clicked on the link in their agenda, it opened their Zoom client instead of keeping it into the platform. So one of the things, and I so infrequently do I do anything that uses like the Web SDK, but it's that's why we always test, and I was brought onto the project only a week before the first day of the conference, and we only tested it 2 nights before the first day, so in the platform. So it became a crunch time of what are our options and how do we do it, and just being aware of like Zoom is not just Zoom. Look at it on your web browsers, look at it on your mobile devices, look at it coming in as a web attendee and stuff like that, because it was
Well, that's the thing. You can't make assumptions, especially when you've chosen a platform. I think a lot of platforms are going to suffer. I think they're already feeling it because they built these platforms and they developed them not to take you to a Zoom meeting, but to ingest the Zoom meeting so that they could appear to be the owner. And it's going to bite them in the butt. It already is, because the SDK is older than the latest release. And just read the writing on the wall. It's already there. Zoom knows that they have every intention and plan, and they're executing it as we speak, I'm sure, of even more rapid development and release cycles. And the only way they can do that and actually have an adoption rate out there that's acceptable and so forth is to also implement and deploy auto updates, because otherwise we'll keep having people that come into our meetings who are fully disappointed because it's not doing what everybody else is experiencing. And so these auto updates are going to help that a lot, but it's not going to help the platforms that are integrated, and that's a problem for
absolutely.
them.
Yep.
So
Platforms, make sure you're looking at them, and early in the process do the free trials of the platforms. Tell them you're not going to do it unless you can test first, and test those things to make sure it looks right, because you could spend this client was too deep in at the point that we figured out that they were going to have to pop it out to regular Zoom. I'm like, you could have done Zoom events, or you could have just done handed out links, so.
And can you disclose the platform or no?
I mean, I don't see why not. The platform was Hoova.
Josh and I both go, we abandoned that platform once too.
Right.
Okay.
I've also had issues with, and this was months ago, but another one that was difficult was Pathable. Not for the same reasons, but it was just the way they do it is, they did at the time, and it may have changed. This was, like I said, months ago, was the link that they created for all of your panelists, again, on a webinar, was the same user. So they handed out the same user. So everybody came in with the same name, and whoever joined the meeting first from those links was the host.
Wow.
So I had to, as the Zoom tech on that show, I had to make sure, like, whatever time we were scheduled, I jumped in like a half hour earlier to make sure that nobody else jumped in there before me, because then I wouldn't have the host privilege.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so there's tons of quirks with the way that these integrations are working, and it's not the same. And so often when we're doing these Zoom centered events where it's built around Zoom as being where our panelists and our presenters are in, people just think, oh, it's a Zoom meeting, it just works the same, and it's like, no, not when you start putting it on a platform. And what really got me with the Hoova thing this past week was, in all of their literature, they talk about it as being a stream from Zoom into their platform. and it's
Yeah.
absolutely 100% not. It's not
It's
using
not.
like the Zoom API. So when I was first brought on, they's like, "Oh yeah, we're streaming it from there," and they sent me the documentation, and I'm thinking like the API doesn't allow this, the API doesn't allow that, and then I realized when I dug deeper and found it was the Zoom SDK, the Web SDK, I was like, oh, so what's this going to do to everything? And it was another, you know, that whole thing, and then we had to change direction. And thankfully, the client was, pretty flexible in understanding. And but it did, like, they planned on using the chat within Hoova. They planned on doing the polls within Hoova, which now moved our chat and our polls to within Zoom. So it put more workload on me because now I was doing something different. And it really, the platform became almost useless. It became just the agenda for the attendees. That was it. I mean, there was other chats within that platform, but not within the sessions. So it's just, Zoom isn't all equal when you start going to different integrated platforms, and they don't all integrate the same.
Yeah, I wonder if that's why someone that Jeff and I spoke to was, how are they ingesting that, Jeff? It was through a Vimeo ingest into Hoova, maybe for that reason. It's like a Vimeo live stream
Take an
was the
RTMP.
ingest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah, they
iframe.
could link you to Zoom, or they could show you, the theater. But yeah, I think it was a stream, and
Right. We could have done that. We could have done like a Zoom into a Zoom through vMix and sent them an RTMP, and then the presenters would have been disconnected chat wise and Q&A wise from the audience, because unless they were on a second device looking at the Hoova experience, where Hoova kind of, their whole thing was, because they used the Web SDK, if you chatted in Hoova, it was seen in the Zoom if you were in the Zoom meeting. But again, the implementation and the look was a very different experience than what you traditionally would think of when you're in a Zoom meeting or webinar. So, it's all this testing. We just spent so long looking at the minutia of like, how did this slide share thing work? And we found that the Google Slides actually worked, which is remarkable, because that's not documented as part of that feature.
No, it's in the release notes. It's just not in the pop-up. Yeah.
Got it. But either way, which is silly. Like, why not have that in the pop-up? Like, that should be in the info.
Yeah, somebody missed that. Oh.
They're waiting for Google to kick them something to the side for a second.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Put their
But
slides in.
but the rigorous testing we just did on just this one feature, this is the kind of stuff you have to do when we look at any one of these platforms. But, and Jeff, I don't want to take too much time, but when we get offline, I want to talk to you about Zoom OSC too. I'm getting.
Yeah, I'm almost convinced. I mean, I either don't hear people, share their frustrations as many as I experience, but but I'm almost convinced that it's this Mac I'm running it on, and I don't know why that would be. It's a decent Mac, but
you had companion issues this week too, and I just had.
Well, that was actually a few weeks ago. That was that job Josh and I. Well, we did two back to back, and the second one, companion kicked my hiney. And I mean, even as of last night, well, even as of preparing for Zoom Test Kitchen today, I plugged my Stream Deck into my Mac, because I go PC to Mac sometimes, knowing that this show is built on my Mac's companion, and so I get there, all the buttons are there, and no code behind them, no actions, no nothing. Now something did new. So thank goodness. Let me just promote this.
Did you get the ransomware? It's like, we see your buttons. If you want the rest of your code, send us 3 Bitcoin.
Yeah. No, so it was. I mean, the good here's my promotion. Write your macro list is basically what the basics of vMix scripting is macros, right? Write it in vMix script and save it in vMix. because the mixing code in my Stream Deck layout, all I had to do was that script, here's the name of the script. Script, run the script, here's the name. All I had to do was just say, point to these scripts to start, pre-roll, start the show, end the show, and so I rebuilt this panel super fast and easy because all the code was saved in vMix scripting. But while I was doing that today, 2 buttons showed up. I don't remember which ones they were, but they were, I have pre-show, start stream, go live, end show, kill stream, and 2 of those buttons showed me some OSC code. And I'm like, there ain't no way it ever contained, which tells me the database, and I don't know where that is. That's the thing. Whatever that database is, it's corrupted, and like the indexing is all screwed up, and so it's pointing to something that it thinks belongs to that button, but it didn't. And that's the first time I've ever seen that come up. So
Yeah.
I need to kind of just wipe things clean, take some pictures and do some exports for reference, but then start anew, because I think the database is just toast.
Yeah, I'm at the same point. My MacBook Pro that's been slowly dying. I now have zero faith in it because it almost cost me a show right before I came here. That was what made me come here today, is because I was like, man, I am not happy at all with what just happened. And
Yeah.
I tried to get my Zoom OSC machine in, but I couldn't get Zoom OSC into this meeting. It kept failing, so I'll have to figure that out too.
Oh, I ran into the same thing. I launched Zoom ISO on my Mac, which is both ISO and OSC, and every time I click login, it would just go effort, come back, and I'm like, what's going on with this? So
Yeah, and I logged into an account that is already that's why I brought my second one, my other Ed Willock, in. That account is, registered for this meeting and got in no problem on vanilla Zoom, but on Zoom OC it failed multiple times. So I was going to ask you about that too. I didn't know if there was something that we've seen.
I need to check with Andy and see what I've got out of whack. So, I mean, I haven't used it a whole lot, but lately anyways. So
Right.
I need to see if there's got. I mean,
Yeah,
it
the
just wouldn't
last
connect.
week or two.
I mean,
I've
this
been
is a
using
Mac
it.
that has always connected to this meeting, and
Yeah.
not, so we'll find out. Let me share. So last week, if there's anybody here that was here last week, I just dropped a little preview that a project I'm working on with Denise Lahat of the Zoom Event Pros Facebook page or group. We're building together a Zoom Events test kitchen, and it'll be a time slot and effort and content dedicated to the Zoom Events platform. We're making some great strides. Oh, I announced that our initial target date, kind of that first opportunity to register and log in and so forth, was the 24th, or not the 24th, 21st of December. We've had to move that back to January 4th. So you'll start seeing some marketing and so forth on it as we get it all developed and finished. But we're making some great efforts with Zoom directly. Now, it's not them. They need it to be, want it to be 100% us, but they're being really supportive in the sense that we now have kind of clearance and exposure to have early release versions of the Expo, Backstage, and webinar session branding, and so we're thrilled about that, on being able to show that off early to the Zoom Events Test Kitchen, and I think it'll be killer. It'll set us a step ahead of everybody else out there, and especially kind of lead the way with our customers and so forth. So I'm really
That's really cool, Jeff. You said Expo, Backstage,
Yeah.
and what was the third one?
Expo, Backstage, and webinar session branding. I remember the announcements, and that is like you can set the background of a webinar and brand it. I don't know what it all means, and I haven't seen it yet. They said Backstage is going to require the 5.9 client, which is releasing on December 20th. That's not out there publicly yet. Let's see, session branding should have been enabled on her or using her events account by Friday, which is today. So, and Expo is ready and enabled for us now. We just have to create a conference, and it will show up. So, super excited. We're really going to go gung ho on kind of letting the industry know, and then just dig
I
in.
was in a
and dig in and
meeting
dig in.
last week with a Zoom rep, one
Yeah.
of their engineers, and I asked him questions about Expo, and he had another name for it. It was like walk and talk or something. He had some kind of cute name for it. I'm like, do you mean like just presented it as I'm like, do you mean like Expo? He goes, oh well, I call it walk and talk.
You're
or something.
roaming around. Yeah, I mean, it kind of does look like that, you're roaming around and.
I'm like, that's really the internal? That's the way you guys are.
That's interesting.
I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that was the branding, but yeah.
So, anyways, and I think eventually it'll be much like Zoom OSC, right? Had it, first it was here, super exciting, became somewhat distracting because it just buried us time-wise where people who showed up for Zoom didn't get Zoom, and so we gave it its own time for a while. And then eventually, they got busy. It got to be a pretty known, well-known product and so forth, and so it can be a part of the Zoom Test Kitchen, when it comes up. And I mean, they're doing some great things. Their chatbot they're working on right now is freaking cool, between Zoom OSC and Isadora and multiple Zoom meetings, everything can cross all the chatting and names, chat to and from. I mean, it's kick butt. I need to get it installed and work it, but I've seen it and heard about it, and even I was chatting with Greg Gibson reached out to me and he says, hey, can I shut one person down on Q&A in webinar? I said, no. And I said, you can either don't show all the questions, you only show answered ones. He says, no, that's not the problem. He's clogging crap up even just for the panelists. And I said, well, that's a problem. I said, you should, he said, I'm using a bridge. I go, well, you must be using Zoom OSC as a Dora, right? And he goes, yeah. I said, call Andy. And I said, Andy can add a list that has all the participants and a checkbox next to each one and just go, check him, which now he's blocked, check him, now he's blocked. It just won't move their messages. It won't let them in and so forth. So, and they were already working on it today. I think that's what Elle was talking about to a degree in after hours, right after office hours this morning. So I just heard just a nugget. So they're all over that. So that whole chat, as long as it's Zoom, I think, that connection, Zoom to Zoom to Zoom, is gonna all tie together with their work. So that's exciting as well. So a lot of good things going on.
I wonder if that'll be in the Zoom OSC 4.05.
Smart ass. So I'm bomb dead. My wife and I have plane tickets to land in New York City on January the 8th, and you will have left about 2 weeks before that after all this time.
I know.
I almost met you.
Yeah, I forget who was telling me you were going to be out here. Somebody was mentioning it. Maybe Dave Brady or somebody.
David Brady he's amazing. He said, hey man, I'll be your ambassador while you're here. I'm like, that's amazingly cool. And so there, and Talalik's there. I don't know who else is there. He says there's a few. Yeah, he says there's a few.
There's a whole
and
group.
Several of them have. So the reason we're going is my son's playing at the Lincoln Center in their jazz band, right? And several of the, our producer friends who are New York based have bought tickets to my son's concert. I'm like, how stinking cool is that, So really appreciate it.
Yeah, there's a whole Discord of just New York guys that are.
That's what David told me. Is that I think he said he had to send an invite and
I can
for me to be able to see it. Yeah, send me an invite. I'd love to connect with them before I get there.
That was started actually by our buddy AV Trainer.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is that where he's based?
Nope,
I
not
didn't
at all.
think so.
But he was doing some work up here, and I got to
Been a
meet
treat.
Bye, George.
him.
Dinner's long past here.
All
Thank you.
right,
It was a
buddy.
good one.
Take care.
Really look forward to next week because polling, etc., that's like one of the best engagement tools for online activities. Thank
Yeah,
you.
well, and
Cheers.
what will follow next year is going to be a big dig into Zoom apps because that's another big interactivity type stuff. So very
Excellent.
cool.
Apps with teeth.
Yeah,
Appreciate
apps
it,
with
guys.
teeth.
Have a
Yeah,
good
take
one.
care, George.
Cheers.
See ya.
Bye now. See you next week.
Yeah, we're that Discord group. We're actually getting together this weekend. Kind of like because I'm leaving. AV Trainer's been putting together something, so we're all going out to a restaurant.
That's cool.
But
That's cool. So yeah, we're
Yeah.
going to be down. Well, Jazz at Lincoln Center is kind of the southwest corner of Central Park, right? And we're just going to be down Broadway about 4 blocks or so, 58th, I think. And so close enough to his concert, and close enough if the temperatures are okay to walk down to Times Square and stuff like that. So
right.
we're looking to have some fun. I thought, honey, I said we should bite the bullet and not miss. We're going to be there. My wife's never been there. I've only been there a few times, and let's take in a Broadway show. And I thought, Hugh Jackman's Music Man, right? Ain't a chance. We said yes, we'll do it, and then we looked up tickets, and they're $1,200 plus each. I'm just like, I just don't even get that math. I really don't.
can't-
I don't care how much money I'd have. I don't spend that kind of money to watch people for 2 hours. I just don't. And
You're not going to go see the Book of Mormon? Like that's where I think.
That's no representation of my church. So
No, I know.
yeah, it's
It
a
is
total
funny.
ripping on my church.
It is.
Yeah, I do. I'm sure I've seen like nuggets, and that's a funny take. I mean,
Yeah.
there's definitely probably some really good humor, but
Yeah.
but it's I don't even want to risk being offended. I just don't want to be, and I'm not. If I don't see it, I won't be offended.
Right.
So
Right.
it's all good. But it's
Yeah.
been a good show. I mean, a lot of people enjoy it.
Yeah.
So all right, well, guys, everybody who's still logged in, always good to hang with you. Have a great weekend. See you next week. I think I'll just really kind of push hard. And always the open invitation, bring your tips, tricks, shares, things like that. But my single nugget next week is we'll just spend a lot of time on these new advanced polls and create some masters out of next week's Zoom test kitchen. So anyways, that's all I got, y'all. Anything else? All right.
No.
Good to see you guys. Take care.